tale to give each side's version of this, an exclusive one, we understand. One of the most talked about.
Hello all, and welcome to PiFi number 95. How are you guys doing?
Good.
We have our special guest tonight, UFO-Shane and KEEMSTAR, and I have my friend and cohort, Alexei Novitsky. So why don't we start off with you, Shane? Can you kind of tell me how you got into the beat with Skyfire News and KEEMSTAR? You're muted. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good. No, I just talk in spaces, and they just thought I was funny, or KEEMSTAR thought I was funny, and yeah, I just went from there. I've been doing spaces for about a year now. Been cool with Red Panda and Tupa. They've always had my back, even though I've been pretty, I have my moments, but they've always backed me up, and I think they had a lot to do with it too. But KEEMSTAR just always thought I was funny and or entertaining, and so they just let me do a show on there, and I think it's great. And but I've been a part of the spaces community for a while, and everyone, when KEEMSTAR came on, everyone was like, "Oh, it's KEEMSTAR, blah blah blah." And they'd ask my opinion. They're like, "Well, Shane, what do you think about this?" And I'm like, "I've been following that dude for like 10 years." And they're like, "What?" And I'm like, "I've been following him for literally 10 years. I used to donate to his Patreon. I used to listen to him going to work." And I've always thought it was funny that everyone wanted to trash him and stuff, but whenever they got in trouble, the first show they went on was Drama Alert. The first show they ever went on, and he would just be real with them and see other people's opinions. So I've always respected and liked him. So I've always thought it was great. So then everyone got mad at me for not getting on the horse of hating on him. And so I don't know. So here we are.
I started YouTube in 2006, and KEEMSTAR, you must have started almost. How long ago did you start YouTube?
I started in 2009, January of 2009. But 2006 is crazy. That's like the platform was it even a year old when you started?
It was me uploading family videos because I was afraid I had a hard drive crash and I lost things, and so I said, "Oh, here's a platform I can upload family videos." As a matter of fact, one of the first ones is my youngest son scoring his first soccer goal, and then about a few years after that, I became YouTube partner and had to get rid of all those old videos because of copyright issues. So
I'm looking right now. Tony joined November 1st, 2006. That's insane.
I thought you were back in that crowd too, because I remember you from way back in the day. I remember seeing you here and there, you know what I mean? Seeing you around, and somehow I got stuck in the bushcraft community and the gun community. I wasn't ever really in the same genre or whatever, but I remember hearing you and about how successful you become and all that. So congrats on your success on YouTube.
Yeah, it turned into a career very soon. I started in 2009, and by the summer of 2010, I quit my job at the attorney's office and started doing YouTube full time.
You were an attorney before?
No, I acted like a paralegal, but I didn't technically go to school. But I got a job doing legal collections, right? And, once I got out of high school, all the jobs, they didn't really pay that well and whatnot. So I was looking at to have a good paying job. So I went and applied at this attorney's office to do legal collections for them or whatnot. And you needed a college degree and all this other stuff. And, that would have set me back like $200K. So I just printed up a diploma and gave it in with my application. They hired me. And then all the other college idiots in the office, I outperformed them. I dusted their ass. And they found out that I didn't go to college, and I just printed up a diploma, and they didn't care because I was making so much money for the office. But yeah, I was basically like a debt collector, but this is after you have a judgment, right? So like the credit card company would put a judgment on someone, and now you got to collect on that judgment. So
Did you have a Guido that went around with you to collect
No,
cash?
it was all over the phone stuff, right?
Oh,
This is where I learned a lot of like my negotiating skills and whatnot is through doing this job, because these people owe money and you just gotta, like, through the phone, convince them to pay. We did have some recourses we could do, as far as like putting liens, garnish bank accounts and whatnot, but then you got to find the bank account, you got to find the money sources of these individuals, like where they're trying to hide it so they don't have to pay these judgments. It was a whole thing, but I was really good at it.
Shane, what were you doing back in those days?
Let's see, that was
When did you start YouTube?
I never did YouTube. I've just been doing spaces.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I did a show called the Extraterrestrial Explorers Enclave, where we have a bunch of different people on, and then me and Kimball did UFO intros, which is where a lot of the guests that I got came on, like James Fox and Stephen Barry Fitzgerald and all of that, which honestly has kind of taught me a lot about how it works on here, especially when you're trying to get like someone UFO famous. I'm doing quotations. You can't UFO famous onto spaces. It's really hard to do. But once you get them on there and explain it to them, it's an open forum. So podcasts are great. I love podcasts and stuff like that. But it's always good to have someone in a space where they can just get real questions from people instead of it being so just one-to-one. Like other people have questions too, and they can come up and actually ask them. I think it's really good.
Yeah.
I remember seeing videos about Linda Moulton Howe and George Knapp back in the day. When YouTube first started. But I don't remember there being like a real community. Maybe I just was too busy doing the bushcraft thing or whatever. Do you remember that, Keemstar? Was there like a UFO community back when YouTube first started?
I didn't know there was a YouTube community or a UFO community until like this year, like January of this year. Because I knew that like people were interested in the topic, and I'm sure that there was some people that were like fans and would go to these UFO conventions and whatnot, but I never really looked at those people like serious people. And then I discovered UFO Twitter, and I was like, okay, well, this is crazy. But because there's a lot of characters. But there's some serious people here, and they're not like nut jobs and whack jobs. There's some serious people that want disclosure, that are trying to get to the bottom of this. Of course, you have some lunatics and whatnot, but for the most part, there's a community here that's serious, and they don't always all agree, but they're serious about this topic. They're not flat earthers or weirdos like you would have thought they were prior to meeting the community. So then once I found out there was an actual community around this, I was like, okay, where is the like media outlet for all the breaking news, right? Because the next thing I discover is, wait, there's news happening every day. From the outside looking in, it looks like, in the UFO world, there's maybe 3-4 stories a year. That's it, right? But when you get into the world, when you join UFO Twitter, stuff's happening every day. And so I was like, look, I've built all these like breaking news type of media companies in the past. I want one here. There isn't one, so that's where Skyfire News came from.
So it's just been since the end of 2023, or when did Skyfire News actually start?
I think it was when I discovered UFO Twitter. I believe it was maybe November or December of 2023. And then Skyfire News started at the very beginning of this year, like January. Yeah. I believe. Okay. Let me go look at, I'll find out for
That's
sure.
Interesting.
I believe that's right, though, because that's back when I was taking a break for work all the time, and then I came on. All of a sudden, Keemstar and Skyfire News was there. That had to be around January, like end of December, beginning of January.
What's funny to me is that like I'm very familiar with Chupacabra and Panda, with all their editing, but I've always wondered how those two and Shane, how those three became like the core You know what I mean? How did that go about? Did you run in? How did you run into a Chupacabra and Red Panda?
You know how Tupa's like really like when you first meet Tupa, he's very nice and he's interested in what you have to say, wants to add commentary. So he was probably like the easiest person to have a conversation with when I first came to UFO Twitter. And so I followed him. I was like, okay, next time this guy's in a space, I'm gonna join just so I can meet more people, right? And I stumbled on two of the most talented people as far as research and Tuba's like an expert when it comes to running cameras and whatnot. Red is really, really good at research and like putting a story together. He's got his own channel with amazing documentaries that are getting shout out by Ready Player One directors and like mega people. So I got real lucky and I ran into these two guys and I told them, I'm like, I want to do this. And it wasn't like a private meeting. Like I was saying it publicly in a space. I'm like, there needs to be a breaking news, company here in the UFO community. And eventually I was like, okay, well, who do I hire? I like these two guys. It seems like they have some skills. And we just kind of went from there. How Shane got involved is, I have an entertainment background, right? This guy's fucking entertaining.
Yeah.
Like part of the reason why like the UFO community on Twitter is still so small is because it's a lot of inside baseball. It's like Lou Elizondo said this, like people don't know who the hell Lou Elizondo is. If I go into a bar and be like, hey, do you know who Lou Elizondo? No one knows, right? So it's a lot of inside baseball stuff. So that there needs to be like an entry point, right? So I think Shane's perfect for that. He runs a space. He got this crazy guy yelling and ranting and da da da. Oh, what does he talk about? That person. Oh, the mummies. Oh, he's going in on the mummies. Oh, I did see that in the news. Like Shane's an entertaining guy, and you need good entertainment, and you need certain stories that are an entry point for the normies to come into the space. I think another good example that we put out, and we did get some shit from the UFO community for, is we put out a story where these UFC fighters were talking about hypothetically if there's an alien attack right on the Earth, what two fighters would this UFC fighter want on his team, right? And so we put that story out, and a lot of people they were like, "Oh, you're making a mockery of this," and da da da. It's not that. I know for a fact I can now retweet that tweet from Skyfire News over on my Happy Punch account, which is my combat sports brand, right? So now those fans can look at this and be like, what's Skyfire News? Oh, that's about UFO. Like it's an entry point. It's a gateway drug into this community. Because ultimately, there's a couple things we want. We want disclosure. We want to know the truth about what's going on. But also, we want this community to grow. We want this community to be much bigger than it is, right?
Yeah, it's funny you made the analogy of inside baseball, because I don't know of any other community that has such the ability to keep stats. I think, right? It has very historical. Like, I mean, people are always doing research. I don't know. When you said inside baseball, I was like, wow, that's a great analogy. Dr. Dan Villiers has joined us. Hey, Dr. Dan. Uh-oh, you're muted. Anyway, Dr. Dan and Alexei help me with the show sometimes, so thank them for coming. So Shane,
I've been being a little quiet tonight so far, but we're just getting started.
Do you have questions? Well, that's the other thing they do. When I get stumped, they help me with questions. So Alexei, if you have any questions, we'll put Shane up here and let him talk for a second. I was going to say, Shane, you were much more animated when we were off the air. Oh
yeah, I don't want to take over the show. I have a problem with doing that because I get really spirited about this stuff.
Well, I thought Keemstar was still sick, so this show is your show, so
I'm just getting over it. But yeah.
I appreciate you too, Keem. I thought you were still sick with bronchitis.
Tony, do you want me to get Shane animated?
Go ahead.
Shane, I think those mummies are real.
No. No.
Let's just put
Like,
everybody back.
that's what I was
Yeah.
gonna say though. That's the thing
we go.
about this community, man, is like you talk about keeping stats, right? And that's why Skyfire News is important, because we have something now that'll keep the stats and report on it. And there's nothing wrong with us reporting on the mummies, but you know, Jaime Maussan has lied 47 times, 47 other times, 47 lies, and he started fake COVID centers in Mexico and was shut down by the Mexican government. That's not cool. You know, like my mom died of COVID. Like that's ridiculous. And you know, like I worked with Darcy Weir, and he told me stories about Jaime Maussan and him going to Mexico and finding out he's full of crap and leaving immediately. And this dude has got people thinking that these bodies that look like they were wrapped in Kellogg's Frosted Flakes are real. And if they were real, then we would have full-on disclosure. I want disclosure more than anyone, but I don't want it to come from a lying, grifting loser who is just literally, he's sold lies for years. I have a whole list. I sent it to Keem and other people, 47 lies. And, you know, like it's ridiculous. And that's like you're skiing down a ski slope and you're just passing red flags. Like, this one's okay. This one's okay. And then you see one green flag and you're like, oh, go with this one. You just fly off and, oh, this one's good. No, man, it's not.
Did you
just passed 47 other flies?
Did you see the recent video where he's going to actually bring out more bodies or
March the
different
12th? Oh, I follow the whole story.
Yeah, March the 12th.
And KEEMSTAR, do you really think they're real, or are you just trying to animate Shane?
I'm leaning towards probably fake, right? You know, like I think most stuff is fake, right? Because it's all extraordinary. But I do believe in the phenomenon. But I think this is kind of Skyfire's approach with all this stuff. Like, we're never going to come out and say, this guy's a fraud, this guy's a fake. We're going to cover what he's claiming. And then Darcy or Shane will put on their own personal Twitter, this guy's a fraud, this guy's a fake. And then we'll report that Darcy and Shane are saying that this guy is a fraud and this guy's a fake, you know? But Skyfire News isn't going to have its own opinion. It's just going to report on you know, what the trending topics are in the community and what people are talking about.
Yeah, and this is exactly why I have no control over it, because I'd be like I'd be logging the Skyfire News and I'd be like, Jaime Maussan is the biggest liar on the man, and I would get fired.
It's why people like us, and it's why people hate us, because we don't take a side.
What do you think, Alexei, when he brings out the new bodies? Do you think they're going to be more impressive, or what do you think about those bodies?
I don't know, man. I'm a no comment kind of guy on those.
On the bodies.
I've heard so many mixed stories, right? Like, you have people that are like so animated, like, this is obviously fake. Like, this is laughable, right? The normies outside of UFO Twitter, like, they're making jokes that it's actually a cake and shit. Like, it was a viral thing. Like, nobody thinks this is real. Now,
what about you, Dan?
Yeah, I'm leaning to not thinking it's real. I was kind of curious, not to make this conversation too serious, but how we do we equally define disclosure in the same way? Will we know we have it when we have it?
No. At some point, they're going to sit down, they're going to interview an alien, an actual ET, right? And everyone's going to say, that's fake. Like, they're all going to be like, that's not real. Like, that's what's going to happen.
You almost wonder sometimes if that's part of the point, or part of the goal is to introduce so much fakery that when the real thing comes, nobody will believe it, or they'll think it's AI or whatever.
Dude, that's the thing about the UFO community, though. Like, you have Bill Moore, you have Richard Doty. Bill Moore came out and had an amazing, like, if no one's ever watched it, Bill Moore gave an amazing speech at a convention where he was like, yeah, I'm paid by the government to sell people lies. Linda Moulton Howe was sold lies, and she just went with it for her entire career. But, you know, they're just disinformation. And then everyone just loves these stories, and they forget. It's like they forget that there's disinformation involved in everything that this has to do with, because this is massive. This technology in a bunker somewhere is never going to come out. You know, in my opinion, disclosure will come from some dude barbecuing like some brats in his backyard, and alien spacecraft is like, you know, just lands, and he's got, like, you know, all these like ring cameras or something. And even like what Keem said, it would still be seen as fake It wouldn't matter if they got out and had a whole fiesta in his backyard. So I don't know what we're going to do, to be honest with you, but we can at least point out obvious hoaxes while they happen and be wary of disinformation. You know, like Richard Doty sat there and told me that there's a, I talked to him like a couple months ago and he blocked me, but he said there was a crashed alien spacecraft in France. And I was asking him like where it was. He's like, I can't tell you where it is. You know, I'm like, well, that's disclosure, buddy. Like, you know, like you're here preaching for disclosure, but you're telling me, you know, where a daggum alien spaceship is. That's disclosure.
What's the
I think
Mexican
disclosure will
village?
be when multiple agencies, you know, the government, it's universities, it's scientists, interdisciplinary kind of, you know, all, you know, agreeing and all having evidence. I think that's the only way that we might,
even in that scenario, I'm an internet person. Like I really understand the internet, right? Even in that scenario where you have all the experts, scientists, you know, academics, the president of the United States, they all have this big meeting. ETs are real. We have them. We've had them from the 50s. This is a certain species. This is this. This is that. As soon as that happens, the internet's going to say, this is a black flag or false flag or whatever the term is, right? What is really going on? Are they actually starting World War III? What are they trying to distract us from? Like that is going to be the response. Like I know the internet.
Oh, dude,
Yeah.
if the government came out and said like, hey, man, we got a scepter in the 50s and it showed us the past, future, and the present. And we've been doing stuff with them for years. I'd be like, we're about to fire some nukes off or something. This is this ain't making no sense here, buddy. Yeah, I'd be worried too, you know. And then, you know, you have a lot of religious people that really get into it. And that's another thing too about the UFO community. It's very, like people love sports, but most people don't worship sports. People love all kinds of things. But when it comes to this, you're talking about a force that's no different than a demigod or a god, right? Like aliens, if they can control gravity, that's like Zeus. That's like literally like you are a god at that point. So what I try to tell people is like, while we can discuss how disclosure is going to go and what it's going to do, what you really need, the core thing you need to figure out and understand is that the phenomenon is real. I don't think anyone knows what it is. I don't think anyone does that talks is a talking head. And it's real though. Like people are having ghost experiences. People are having abduction experiences. People are seeing lizard monsters on Highway 5. It just happens like that. And trying to figure out exactly what that is what we need to do. And that's why I was telling you before the show started, Tony, I love the 70s and the contactee movement. And I need to get with Panda and do a video on George Van Tassel and Dupa because he's one of my favorites. And he thought the ocean was flat, but he still built a giant machine. You know, the dude was crazy. But he still built the Integratron, which is one of the only two perfectly acoustic buildings on the planet. And he was doing it to heal cancer and to heal. And, you know, and all of a sudden he drinks some brisk iced tea and looks at his brother-in-law and goes, they killed me. He dies. They go to his funeral and a bunch of black vans show up while they're at the funeral and raid his house. That's not normal, you know, but it just shows you there's something there. And I've seen it with my eyes too. I mean, me and Keem both have experiences and, you know, it's real. It's when people tell me they know exactly what it is, or that this Frosted Flakes, you know, like Tony the Tiger looking mummy is disclosure that I get upset.
Is there anyone saying that they know exactly what it is? Because I think everyone is finding that safe place of saying, you know, I don't know what it is.
Well, I've had psychics on my show that tell me they know what it is. I've had, you know, I think if you're a big talking head, you won't say specifically, but now it was aliens, right? Now it's interdimensionals, you know, and they just keep picking and jumping. But they'll tell you like disclosure is going to, like John Ramirez, disclosure is going to come in 2027. Then Soul Foundation does their thing. Oh, it's 2031 now. And that's going to turn into 2035, 2045. I'm dead by this point with no answers. And, you know, well, hopefully I'm not dead by then, but, you know, it keeps going and going and going. But what I'm trying to relate here is that something akin to fairy tale is real, but we just need to figure out what that is. And, you know, magic is no different than science. It's just, you know, it's just super advanced science, really. So
I feel like interdimensional was like a 2023 thing, and we're seeing a little bit of that in 2024. But for this year, the main thing that people are going to talk about, which is going to get popular and popular and popular, the main theory is going to be the aliens are actually angels, right? The aliens are Jesus. The aliens are God. Like that's where this is going for this year. That's going to be the main trend.
And that's where Congress is going. That's
I've
where
actually
everyone...
tried to put a stop to that, but I'm not a very big YouTuber. So
well,
I grew up in the church, and I don't believe that at all. I believe they may be just beings that are, you know, coexisting in our universe. Then maybe they were created by the same creator, and they're probably looking at us the same way we're looking at them as something very different.
Dude,
but I don't think I don't
You
think
can
they're
be-
angels or gods or demons or.
But well,
I think-
they're not. I mean, right? They're not like. I think what Keem's trying to say is like the biblical angels and stuff, right? Like
Yeah,
from
I'm not
Christian
saying that
aspect.
I necessarily believe that. What I'm saying is
Right.
that is going to be the trend for this year. That's the thing that they're going to be pushing the most. And when I say they, I mean, prominent people going on podcasts,
Well,
interviews. They're going to say, look, God.
I'll push back a little bit on that. I think that's the reason why David Grush and people like Elizondo and all those main characters have been using the new terminology, non-human intelligence, is to try to steer it away. They're saying interdimensional, they're saying non-human intelligence, and they're not going around saying it's angels and demons.
I personally think the interdimensional thing is confusing people with having them, bring ideas into their
I just
head.
want to say I have made videos that I'm like, UAPs and angels, or is there a difference, right? Like I have made those kinds of videos and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, there's
I do
people in
see
the government that
relationship.
any way they could, even approach this subject is to see it as angels and demons because of their maybe faith.
100%, 100%, and that's what Luna and Timbershed and these guys. And I actually really like Timbershed because he
There's
says it like
nothing.
it is.
I've got a video about it. There's nothing biblical about these things, though. There's nothing. There, if you actually read the Bible, you'll see that the end times are. There's a very specific. The end times are very specific, and these don't meet the definition or the. You know what I mean? They're just. Are we gonna take every life form we discover in the universe and claim it's a demon or an angel? No, we have to accept that we're not the only life form in the universe. So when we run into them, that doesn't mean they're going to be angels or demons. Because
Well, that really depends on what type of world we are when we reach the stars. If we're ran by fanatics who believe in things like that, then that's what we'll do. If we are more rational about things, we'll understand that there are life forms that live out there in the universe. There could be life forms out there that are energy. There could be there are probably most likely life forms out there that exist from nothing that we could ever comprehend. I talk about this a lot. I don't know if you guys know about prophets, like Baba Vanga or, or Edgar Casey, right? And Baba Vanga is at a 65% prophecy rate. And I don't buy into that kind of stuff, but I love this story called the Beast of Sarachina. And she talks about when we go to Mars, we're going to nuke ourselves, and then we're going to come back together, and then we're going to go out past the Kuiper Belt, and we're going to find a life form out there that just freaks us out completely because it has no relation to any common knowledge that we have. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, like, well, but that probably is what it's like. Like, there could be something out there that just you don't even have a bait because you don't know what you don't know. And I don't know. I think it's pretty freaky.
I think humans have a tendency to assign anything that they're not familiar with to some
God
or angel. Angels are actually messenger if you want to create a new religion around it, which it seems like people have, that's fine. But don't associate it with the biblical God, the biblical angels, because angels of the Bible were just messengers from God. They have very specific tasks that they do. They don't just roam around tapping people on the shoulder. Hey.
And they're crazy looking. Like biblical angels are like wheels with wheels and eyeballs, and they're on fire. If I saw that on a mountain in 1600 AD, I'd be like, holy crap, I don't know what this is, but I'm gonna fall on my knees and
I guess
give me the guidance.
I guess what I'm trying to say is
I was going to say I can definitely see it picking up though as an idea though in 2024, like Keemstar was saying.
No, I'm not. I'm not doubting what Keemstar is saying. I'm just pushing back.
I'm just the trend.
I don't agree with it. I think they should keep it separated. But I can see it coming.
I think that trend has already started, like Keemstar is saying, that it's going to carry on into 2024.
Luna was talking about that, right? In a way, even like
she said that she saw this from a Christian perspective. It's her exact words, and that's the thing, and that's why Keemstar does no trends, man. Come on, and honestly. And we're looking for answers from these people who are seeing it from this perspective. So that perspective, of course, is going to gain more traction. I totally believe it. It's freaking me out.
It's definitely going to gain more traction this year, and that's going to be the main thing pushed. And it's not even really religious people. It's like, think about it. From birth, we're just always taught good and bad. In all of our movies, we're taught good and bad. Like good and bad, good and bad. It gets jammed down our throats. When they're talking about these, alien races or whatnot, a lot of these so-called experts say, well, some are good, some are bad. You know what I mean? It's just naturally going to go this way. And it's really picking up a lot of steam. The more podcasts that I watch, or the more interviews I have, they're now bringing religious experts that study all these different religions, and they're going on all the major podcasts and connecting, the phenomenon to religious stories historically. Like, this is going to be the main push this year for sure.
And isn't that about like it's similar to a religion in some way, people believing it like a religion, and there's actually more proof to this than other religions. So you can see how attractive it would be. So maybe it's just,
I guess what I'm trying to say is that, and this is going to sound kind of tribal, but I can't think of any other way to say it. People that I know, I grew up in the Bible Belt, been involved in church my entire life. Everyone that I know that's a Christian doesn't think these are, you know what I mean? People who have been Christians their entire lives and read the Bible don't think this. Okay. This is what I guess it kind of irks me a little bit. The people who think it are the ones who are new to religion because of UFOs. And they haven't read the Bible. They don't know their history. You see what I mean? That's what irks me. I agree with you, Keemstar. There's a trend. That's why I'm animated about it, because there is a trend.
Yeah.
I just
do
think
we know that for a fact? Though? I actually thought it was
I don't think UFOs are the way you come to God. Is what I'm trying to say. That's not, especially.
Well, Tony, let me put it to you this way: if my super Southern Baptist family were staying on their land, and they believe in QAnon, some of them do, right? Like crazy stuff that I think is crazy. If a saucer landed in their backyard, that alien's going to get filled up with 223s. From my uncle calling them demons. Exactly. He's like, oh, you came from Satan. Boom, 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 boom. Like, he's not even going to wait for them to give him the divine message of God. Yeah.
But he wouldn't assign the term angel, the attribute angel to them.
Maybe if they came out of the spacecraft glowing with golden light, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, I didn't mean to go off on that. I was responding to Keem saying, because I have seen, that's really the trend. You can see it in some of my videos. That's sort of the trend I'm trying to address too. And Alexei and I've talked about this in our shows. But yeah, it's a little bit annoying. The other thing I was going to ask you guys about was the associations that have happened. Like when I was kind of growing up in UFOs back kind of in the 70s and 80s, like George Knapp was a dude. He was like a actual journalist, right? He was a journalist who turned UFO, not fanatic, but so there's a couple of old timers like him, and then to see him join forces with Jeremy Corbell. Do you all ever get the impression that he regrets that becoming associated with Jeremy? Does anybody else get that?
Sometimes.
When it comes to George Knapp worked for the news network, and John Lear kept coming in with these stacks and stacks of papers, and he would go up to, they have their like little news desk. And this is George Knapp tells the story. George Knapp also says he knows what relevant 115 is. And by the way, George, if you're watching this, go dig it up. Let's get disclosure, baby. But John Lear put those things on that dude's desk, and he's telling him all this stuff about planes and all these kind of things. And then the dude didn't want to do the story, and George was like, "Oh hell, I'll do it." And then this is where George got his takeoff from. Is George regretting being with Jeremy Corbell? I don't know. They're making a lot of money. I don't know. I don't really know the guy personally, but
sometimes I feel like he rolls his eyes. What do you think, King?
I haven't seen as much of Weaponized and their them working together as you have, probably, Tony. You've probably seen way more, so you might have better insights. But I don't see it that way. I think Jeremy Corbell compliments George Knapp by keeping him youthful in this generation, right? Corbell like really understands like the hip things in the internet, right? Well, he has a way better understanding than Knapp. And so I think what Knapp does is Knapp gives credibility to Corbell, and what Corbell does is Corbell gives more relevancy in this new generation to Knapp. And I think they complement each other. I think they're a good team, to be honest.
Yeah, and I do want to give some credit to George real quick. George sat out there at Skinwalker Ranch for a whole night, and they left him alone. He didn't come back and say he saw a wizard in a robe or anything like that. He said, I didn't see nothing, but it was sure creepy. And here are the stories of that. And I love the Skinwalker Ranch story. I mean, Chris Bartell's in the chat right now. He worked there for 6 years. you know, and but I talk to guys like that and their experiences, and then they have weird experiences out there. But George had every chance to go out there and lie, and he didn't. He didn't lie, and I get on to George because I hold him at a high standard because I've followed him my whole life, going on coast to coast, being a part of coast to coast. But Jeremy Corbell is kind of I think Keemstar covered it pretty good. He knows what to do. He doesn't know to go on TMZ and say they're not making any money when he has a popular podcast. So that's not true, but he definitely knows what he's doing. And I don't know. I don't mind it too much. It gets under my skin a little bit when they start selling obvious hoaxes and lies, though. But maybe they just got it wrong.
You just have to remember, I grew up with Walter Cronkite. Okay. And
Bohemian Grove has a 40-foot owl statue that talks to them in the voice of
back in the day, journalists were almost afraid to lie. They were actually the people who had the most, morals. It seemed like they would, if a journalist like, George Knapp lied back in the day, you were just, you couldn't really believe it. And now it's just like,
well, you
are we going to bring that back? Keemstar, are we going to bring that kind of those standards back to Skyfire News?
Yeah, I hope so. But sometimes I think Corbell gets like a bad rap from the UFO Twitter because people go in on Corbell. They're like, he did this fake video and that fake video and this was flares and that was, and they'll go through the whole thing. But if you actually see what Corbell's saying, and he doesn't know what they are. These lights were, he's not out there saying these were ETs. He's not out there saying, that these are aliens and this is otherworldly bodies. And he actually isn't. So I feel like if you're going to cover a phenomenon like this, right, and this is your job and this is what you're known to do, and you're going to be covering multiple cases, all right, at some point you're going to cover a story where it was flares, right? And you did the investigation, you tried to figure it out, it wasn't making sense, you made the decision, okay, I'm going to bring this to the public now. At some point you're going to get something wrong. And for some reason in this community, in the UFO community, there's no understanding of that, right? It's like if you have one thing that's proven to be wrong, everything you do and say from now on is horseshit, right? I don't like the UFO jellyfish. I don't, right? I don't think if you're sitting on that video for 3 years, I don't think that video ever sees the light of day. Because
what we want is right. If one gets debunked, that they own it, and it's not their fault. I mean, they just should be listen to the data and keep pursuing it because 95% of them are going to be prosaic.
Yeah,
I'll tell you a quick story about Ashton. Ashton Forbes is in the chat. When the way I first met him was I think I was telling him or somebody else that I thought this was before I knew he was involved with the MH370, right? I was like, man, those videos are fake as all get out. And then I liked Ashton. And then I realized that Ashton is the guy who's doing research on. So I took another look at it. You know what I mean? So then it's kind of funny how it's kind of like the mafia. This is your guy. That's my guy. And, it's kind of like I liked Ashton, so I wanted to think he was a good guy. So then I started changing my thoughts about it, that it could be, could be true or real. So I don't know. I kind of feel like George Knapp has done that over the years. I kind of feel like he's trying to bend a little bit to meet the new age.
Let's not go that far. The new age movement, some crazy stuff, Tony.
No,
you mean like new age is in like just the newer era, not like new age, right?
Yeah, and when that's why I asked Ashton to come on the show, because I knew he was just a good guy doing what he thought was right. And turns out I think I'm right about him.
Yeah, and, that dude used to butt heads all the time, man. We used to just be.
Here's the thing. Ashton probably won't like me saying this, but this is how I see it, right? Ashton is going out of his way to prove that this video is real, right? So it's going to be real. All right. Just like the debunkers are going out of their way to prove that this is false and this is bullshit, right? So it's going to be false and bullshit. That's just that's all there is to that.
The thing is, though, the reason I asked him to come on the show was, and at the very end of the show, it occurred to me he is actually open to it being, to them finding the plane and there being another solution. I mean, he said that, I'm pretty sure. You know?
But it's not for Ashton to change his mind and walk any of this back, just like it's not for the debunkers.
He can change his mind.
But it's not for the debunkers to change their mind and say it's real. That's what this is what people need to understand. Ashton, hold your position, debunker, hold your position, and debate. And us, the audience, we get to decide what we think is true based on these experts that have studied the ever-living hell out of this missing plane video, right? And that are going to battle it out, right? That's what needs to happen.
I think we can all kind of debate it now, and then when they find the plane, we can go, oh, I was wrong. It's that simple. Or I can say, or when we find out, 100 years from now that, the CIA zapped it and took it to another dimension, I can say I was wrong.
It didn't go to another dimension, Tony. It went to Diego Garcia.
I know. I went to Diego. I was just kidding.
Or as some guy said in the chat, evidence isn't proof. Didn't one year we have, it was all about maybe us from the future?
Oh, yeah, that was a big thing. Like you're talking about where the aliens were us from the future. And that comes from Pendleton. That comes from Rendlesham Forest. And they're saying they saw the craft and he touched it and he got the binary code. But he never brought the book out until he had a History Channel show with Linda Moulton Howe. And that's where that kind of came from, which is total hogwash. If you talk to John Burroughs, he's pissed off, excuse my language, about the whole thing because he felt like it was very uncouth of Pendleton to like make this stuff up. And he said he was sitting there like with the producers and the cameras and he's just watching this dude and they're just talking to him. And he was like, I was standing right beside him. Like I have medical issues that the government wouldn't pay for that I had to fight for. And they're talking to this dude about some book with binary code, and it goes to all these points like the pyramids of Egypt and all that stuff. But that's where like I think the future human stuff started taking off. And Nick Pope wrote that book, and Nick Pope is a whole different ballgame. By the way, Nick Pope, also, if you're listening, tell your wife to give the Native American people their artifacts back. But I just think that's where that comes from. It's a cool thing to think about.
I didn't know
but
that.
maybe it isn't. And
keepers.
When you want to talk about aliens and religion, though, where's everyone talking about the Bhagavad Gita or the Mahabharata or the Hindi beliefs?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
read
what's
that.
bugging me. That's what I'm saying. Why don't you all assign this to Islam or something? Don't assign it to Christianity.
Hinduism is where it all comes from.
Why are you picking on Christianity with your angels and demons stories with UFOs?
Hinduism.
No, I think they are. They're making a push that all religions are based off of historical ET visits.
Well, ancient astronaut theorists always
that could be true. Yeah.
But if you read the Bhagavad Gita, you read the Mahabharata, you read ancient Sanskrit texts. If you get them translated, because I'm not smart enough to read Sanskrit, but they show you exactly how the Vimana worked, the Mercury drives, what button this dude had to push for shielding. This one was made of light and could go to different dimensions, and like it's a full breakdown. And people will just tell you that like some guy was out there just writing all this down. But yeah, I mean, he was probably staring right out of Vimana, going, "Oh, this is this dude that pilots this part of it." It's all written there.
Don't they also talk about the yugas of the perceptual cycle network too? And how it's all related to like basically orbiting the center of all creation, like a drifting in and out.
Center of the universe, yeah. Like
center of the universe. I call it the center of time in my work.
Yeah.
But yeah, I talk about that stuff for sure. It's all about vortexes.
I think it's really cool. And then if you follow Islam, you have jinn, right? You have Solomon and you have jinn, and you have the Ring of Solomon. There's just so many cool things. I mean, the Ark of the Covenant in Christianity. So many ancient relics that have been found. And Skyfire News, we're going to have on. I'm trying to get Timothy Hogan, but Scott Walther's a really good friend of Timothy, so I think I'll be able to get Timothy. But we're going to have him on a Saturday Space talking about their new book, and they have a guy show talking about the Knights Templar and ancient religious artifacts that may have, they say the Knights Templar knew that it wasn't religious and that it was actually from lost civilization. So there's a lot of really cool stuff in our past that just gets written off.
What's the structure of Skyfire News, KEEMSTAR? Is it do people have roles, or does everybody just sort of contribute in the same way, or how does that work?
We don't really have roles right now because we're just so small. It really is like 3 people, and then UFO-Shane has his own Twitter Spaces show. But basically Red and Tuba, they put out all the news, they make all the posts. We probably do 2 to 4 different private calls throughout the day of just talking about what's going on, what needs to be covered. We always check ourselves to make sure that we're not like in too far believer territory and not covering the skeptic side enough or the debunker side. We go through, we just talk about our posts and like, okay, we did a lot of this, let's switch it up, let's do that. Or some days we're just talking way too much inside baseball stuff, like, Mellon said this and Lou Elizondo said that, and it's like we haven't even reached normal people today. Let's get a couple new UFO clips that have happened in the last month out there, and something that I can retweet that people outside the community can look at, and it's like an entry drug into the space. But Red and Tuba are about to launch the YouTube news show, which will be a daily thing going through the news of the day. That's going to happen on the Skyfire News YouTube channel. So then we're going to start bringing in more people to kind of fill the role that's happening for Twitter, so they can just focus on producing their show. And we're just going to go from there. But my ultimate dream for this, Tony, is for Skyfire News to be so successful and so big and so popular that we can start raising some of the voices through UFO Twitter. Like some of the people that are genuine, right? They don't act in bad faiths. Different opinions and being wrong about your opinion, I don't care about that stuff. But there's a lot of people that are acting in bad faith. Those people, no. Not platforming those people, no. But the people that are acting in good faith, raise those voices up, help them grow, help them be popular through our reporting and through our shows. And let's have honest debate, because the only way the public, in my opinion, is going to actually learn about this topic and get truth is through debate. Because we don't know. Nobody knows, right? But I want experts that have actually studied that this 100% is fake or this is 100% real, and I want them to talk to each other. That's not what we see on UFO Twitter. You know what we see? Oh, block you. I'm going to block you. I think Gary Nolan has in his Twitter, anybody that disagrees with me, you're getting blocked or something like that. It's like, what are you talking about, right? We need these people talking. Someone that thinks that they're angels and someone thinks that it's us in the future and there's a time machine, make them talk, make them battle their ideas out. That's the only way the audience that doesn't have all day, every day to study this stuff is going to learn. They're going to learn from people that are researching and are trying to make a claim based on their research and their evidence,
It's funny because the first pitch I made to Gary a year ago, literally it was March of last year when I first asked him to come on the show, and he said he would, but was that very thing. I was like, can't we get more scientists? Can't we get more people like you to come and talk to common people? Can't you come to my show? And I don't know if that rang a bell with him or whatever, but he said, sure, we'll schedule it. Of course, that a year later, we haven't worked it out. But I think one of the things that they need to do is they need to make an effort to get more people like him involved. I don't know how you do it. There's no real way to show demand, I guess. There's no Tony Awards for, the best UFO scientist of the year. Maybe we need to start a KEEMSTAR award.
There's not Tony Awards, but there's Jimmy Church Awards where they give each other awards. Like they gave Billy Carson Samaritan of the Year award at his own convention.
I can see it now. Skyfire.
Oh yeah, I'm trying to get Keemstar to strap me up with cameras and just throw me into ancient crypts. Like just I'll go.
Diana Pasulka. I'm curious about what you think of Diana Pasulka.
I've tried to get her on the show. She just ignores me because I don't know why, but I understand I'm a really small YouTuber and I can't draw.
It shouldn't matter.
That's why I appreciate you guys for coming, Keemstar and Shane, and I really appreciate when people come and speak with me. But Diana, I think she does a little bit of that thing that I'm complaining about the UFO people, the UFO crowd, and she's assigning too much mysticism to Christianity.
No, that's like her whole thing.
I know I hate that, but it's
I'm not a big Diana. I'm not
a big fan. I mean,
but
I wish her well. I'm not wishing anything bad for her. I just don't think. I think she's a little naive.
I think what Keem said is really true though too. Is to have something that you can look forward and bring them together. And I talk about this a lot too. Is when you're doing ufology, there's a ufologist. Anyone can write a book. You can self-publish a book, and you're a master ufologist if that book takes off. But you're not really getting any handholds. We're all stumbling in the dark, or we're all climbing up a cliff, and we're looking for that next thing to grab onto. And I think Skyfire is trying to do that, trying to be something. I just host a show on there, but I really respect what we're doing, because it gives you stories that that are all in one place that you can read, and then people in the comments discuss it, and then like me or other people will discuss it as well. But we have to look for something. Look, we've been in the same spot for 80 freaking years. 80 years. I don't know. And everyone's like, be patient. And my patience is, if you've ever heard me in a space, it's gone. It's absolutely wiped out. I'll go off on total rampages that I'm trying not to do so much anymore. But I just get so mad because we're trying to find something to grab onto, because you've had an experience. I've had an experience. Other people who aren't even talking have had experiences. And we don't know if it's aliens. We don't know if it's ghosts. We don't know if it's Atlanteans. If we don't know if it's fish people living in inner Earth. We don't know what it is, because we don't have that next thing to grab onto. Now, someone probably knows in the government somewhere. I believe that. But we, the common people, we don't have something to grab onto. So it's good to have a funnel, to funnel it all in there, and then have a good open discussion about it. And, whenever someone releases a UFO video, this is my problem with Corbell, is he's like, all these debunkers, blah, 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 blah. Dude, the last thing when you see any video, the last thing you should think is it's aliens. That's the very last thing. Now, if it turns out that that's what it is, we're good to go, baby. We got full disclosure. But you shouldn't see something and just immediately go, oh, that's aliens from, Teflon 9 or wherever. You should be able to discuss it. And maybe it is balloons, or maybe it's lights reflecting off, crab ships in the ocean or whatever. But, people get so mad on UFO Twitter, especially. And I think Keem's seen this. I mean, we get attacked all the time. I mean, like you said, half UFO Twitter has me blocked now just because I'm associated with Skyfire News. When all Skyfire News is just putting out stories. It's just putting out stories.
What you're referring to is setting realistic expectations. And
right.
Because if they're excessive, you're going to be more disappointed, and then it's just leading people down.
It's like you pour something in the top and it falls through a bunch of marbles, man, and maybe a piece of gold will come out at the end, man. Maybe it'll be alchemy. Maybe we'll figure it out.
Well, a lot of people in this space, they want censorship. They truly want censorship, right? They would never say that because they haven't even identified that they actually want censorship. So we'll cover a story where someone is claiming something, and we cover it like, this person is claiming this. This is the quote that they said, right? And instantly we'll be like, I cannot believe you're spreading this horse shit. I can't believe you're not spreading these fucking lies. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I'm blocking Skyfire News. I'm so done with it. They're spreading this. No, we're not. We're reporting that this person said that, right? So what people really, really want in this space is control of a narrative, and they want censorship. They want to silence people left and right.
100%.
And these are the same people that are against the government for silencing disclosure. And disclosure, it's the most hypocritical stuff in the world. And I don't think that we've had conversations to explain to these individual people in UFO Twitter, you are acting like your number one enemy, right? The government and disclosure and all. You're trying to silence people. You're trying to shut people up. Having an opinion on someone and saying, that's horseshit, that guy's wrong, this is fake, this is debunker, that's fine. But the whole you shouldn't platform this, and you shouldn't cover this, and you shouldn't cover this person's opinion, and that type of stuff is nonsense. That's narrative control.
It seems hard to be able to actually have a show and then bring on debunkers, skeptics, believers, because people gravitate to one side, right? And
right.
Just look at that, and then a debunker will say no, I'm not coming on that, or a believer will say no to Mick West show, or what have you.
It's near impossible, but we've done it. We've had it. Even in our Twitter spaces, we've been able to represent both sides. And we've had some really good conversations because of it and some good debates. And we're hoping to make this much bigger, bigger guests, more relevant people, more experts, and have them have a go at it, debating their ideas. And at the end of the day, in my opinion, you know who wins? Everyone, right? Like, because you're going to be kept in the loop with the breaking news. You're going to know what's going on. You're going to know what people are talking about. And you're going to actually finally have good, healthy debate where you can form the best opinions.
Sounds good. I just subscribed.
It occurs to me that we've become so accustomed to mainstream media having an agenda. We don't know how to let, Skyfire News do what they want to do. Because if we see a story, we automatically, if I see a story I don't like, I'm assigning that agenda to you. Because that's what I'm used to on CNN or Fox News and so I don't know. It just occurred to me that we need to start living and let other people live.
Red and Tuba, I think they've been pretty vocal about not really trusting Lou Elizondo, but go to Skyfire News. We're covering that he's got a book coming out, or he said this, or he said that. Like, they're not allowed to be biased. I'm not allowed to be biased, right? Our job is to literally cover what is trending. What are the main things that are happening in the UFO community today? We serve the viewers and the followers, right? Like, this is what's going on. That is the only agenda. Now, I might get in a space or I might get in a show like this and I give you my personal opinion, but that's coming from me. That's not Skyfire, right? That's the difference.
I have to give UFO Chick a hard time, though, because I dare you to actually define the truth. I'm sorry, UFO Chick. That's a little peeve of mine. I have this theory that humans aren't actually capable of defining truth. So I'm not picking on you. I just
my favorite comment so far was from Brian, and he said, "There's no money in disclosure." That's true. There's no money in real disclosure, but there's money in fake disclosure all day long. You have Gaia, you have all these people saying all this stuff that makes no sense. They're making buku's money. They're doing a convention every 2 weeks. Look at Ancient Aliens running their gambit. And look at Dr. Stephen Greer. Have you ever talked to his people, Tony? How much do they want to charge you to come on the show?
They won't even return the calls, but
yeah, they returned mine, and it was like $2,500. And then they were like, "Well, you're on Spaces," and they were like breaking down my analytics. I'm like, Jesus, I just
want to go on their show or to go on yours.
To come on mine.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would honestly, I was just checking it out because I'll listen to anybody, dude. Unless it's about Jaime Maussan and the alien mummies, and then I go on like a dark-seated path of evil rampage. But I'll try my best. I'm trying to be more open about that kind of stuff because it's good to hear. I just really hate the story. But with Stephen Greer, I'm all for his redemption arc, man. Like, if he really does have disclosure, let's get it, But and also if someone doesn't want to debate or they don't want to come on show because Mick West is on there, then they're not being genuine, and I don't care at that point because genuineness matters. I've talked to tons of abductees and people like that, and they're all genuine people, so I believe them. So anyway.
That's the other thing that's out of whack in this community is the whole money side of things, right? So obviously there's been a lot of con men in this community that have scammed people and tried to make, literally con people to make money, right? I get that. I understand that. Everybody should be against that, right? But then there's this weird overcorrection, right? Where I'm in an argument with the milk farts or whatever, and I'm like, let me interview you. Let's sit down and talk about it. And he goes, one stipulation, you can't make any money on the interview. Well, I'm not getting up and traveling to wherever you live, buying a flight. I'm not doing any of that. If I can't make money, I'm not even going to make my money back. And how much money, if I put that interview up, at the very most, it's going to get on a brand new channel, right? Which Skyfire was new at the time. At the very most, it's going to get 10,000, 20,000 views. We're talking about $100 will be made. All right. Yeah. So when you're beating your chest out there saying, I'm only doing it if there's no money could be made, I've been a YouTuber for 15 years. You're talking about $100. You're virtue signaling to a bunch of idiots. No one is believing that if I interview you, millions are going to be. No one is believing that. You're an idiot and you're making yourself look dumb. Same thing with Jeremy McGowan, right? I wanted to have a debate with him because me and him getting a beef. He goes, I one stipulation, not a red cent could be made. Well, Jeremy, you just told the internet that you're dumb. At the most, $100 would be made on this thing. What are you guys talking about? So, like, I get being against the scams and the comment or whatever, right? But when you're talking about an interview and you're trying to virtue signal, you just look stupid to people because there isn't millions of dollars being made or even thousands of dollars being made interviewing any of these individuals in the UFO community. And this stance where I'm gonna work and I'm gonna spend all this time and energy, and you can't make revenue from making content. Like some people believe that as well. That's nonsense. Why? You know? Like
I actually looked at you coming into the UFO community kind of selfishly because I was thinking that you might help bring some wealth into because it really doesn't. There's really no money to be made as far as. I mean, I have over 3,000 videos, and I may make $100, $120 a month. You know, off of YouTube. I mean, all of YouTube.
But that's what I'm saying. That's what. Imagine someone coming at you, Tony, and being like, you just went live on the UFO topic and somebody donated $50 to you. You're just in this for the money. You know how fucking laughable that is and dumb that is, right? But this
after
is
YouTube sucks their fee out of it, yeah.
Yeah, this is the shit that people say. Like they openly beat their chest and say this shit on Twitter. It's like so laughable to me, and it's insane.
That's why, Tony, you get paid in laptops. You never accept money. You just want to get sweet laptops. And that's the only way. That way it can't. It's not traceable.
Well, I think the key is like for me is that I don't need to make money. It's a hobby for me. Now I understand. I'm not saying that because I expect KEEMSTAR not to make money. I think people should be allowed to decide how they want to make money and go after it. And we should allow that. You know, this is God. I don't want to sound that overly patriotic, but my God, it's a free country. You know, we should. It's a capitalistic society. If KEEMSTAR makes a lot of money, it's going to trickle down into the UFO community. Good gosh, don't you?
If he does, it will, for sure.
Tony, the first thing that was said to me when I made Skyfire News is they were interrogating me. They're like, "Are you going to try to make money doing this?" I'm like, "No, I just created a business to hope that we go bankrupt." Like, what is this? Like, what are you talking about?
It's a drug laundering, money laundering scheme.
I'm sitting here working every day, putting all this time and effort into building Skyfire News. Tuba is, Red is, and what? We're hoping we don't make a red cent. Like, what? Of course we want to make money, right? Like, if I could just snap my fingers and decide how much money, I would say billions. I would say the most money, right? Duh. Right. Wouldn't you? Wouldn't anyone? Like, that's what you do when you create a business. You want it to be successful and you want it to make money. But am I just in for this money? No. This is a very small community. It's going to be a lot of hard work. I'm into this because I have a passion for it, but I do believe that my business can be successful and make money in the future. And then what was that other point that I wanted to tell you? UFO-Shane, you went in and you had this rant on this guy, or excuse me, a woman that was, what was she doing? She was selling classes or something?
She was selling financial aid courses using her psychic powers to increase your financial wealth and abundance. And also, she was going to upgrade your soul to the next level with a small fee of $255 for 2 hours. Now, in those 2 hours, you get to ask 2 questions. Now, if you pay $555, you get 6 hours and you get to ask 5 questions.
Now, everyone should be against this. This is a clear like con or scam or something, right? Like everyone should be against this. But that is not the same thing as creating a media brand, creating a podcast, creating a show, covering this topic. These things are not the same at all.
Well, I just want to say, if you were in it to make money, there's other industries that make more than, podcasting in the UFO world.
I would create a beauty brand. Do you know how much money's in that?
Yeah,
like imagine something like Dromler or Happy Punch or Skyfire News that just covered, this new makeup's coming out. I'm popping off.
We could do
Skyfire News
beard cream.
Yeah, Skyfire News right now, I think we're at like 8,000 followers. If I did a beauty brand and started that company doing breaking news in that community, it'd probably be at 50,000 followers or 100,000 followers by now. You know, it's not for the money, but to say that I'm not going to make any money, or I don't hope I'm not going to make money, like that's just silly. That's so silly.
And that's my thing too, is let's be real here. Everything runs with money. You guys all have bills to pay. We all have bills to pay. I don't care how much money you have. Money controls what you do. It doesn't buy you happiness, but it does buy you peace of mind, and it allows you to do what you want to do. And you know, if Skyfire News makes money, that money's going to go back into doing things that will hopefully help the community. I mean, right? And that's how it used to be. I talked about this before you were even here earlier, Keem. When you look back at the older ufologists like George Fantastic and these guys, they used all the money they made from their books and everything to build devices that the aliens said they were going to build, or build contactee platforms, or their money went back into the community the best way it could before the internet. And it's just a new platform to do that. There's nothing wrong with making money. And I didn't know about the whole like chemo fart and Jeremy McGowan thing. I'm surprised for Jeremy, to be honest with you, but I believe it.
I could only interview them with the stipulation that not a red cent would be made. It's
not a red cent, not a commie cent.
It's the weirdest. It's what are we talking about? Like, it's
so weird. It's
but
dumb.
You know, how I see.
Or just that I'm saying the concern is that people want the honesty to be maintained, and that it's not, you know, kind of overly driven by the money, because then it's, you know, people are concerned that they're going to be.
Well, they don't have a problem with Linda Moulton Howe. They don't have a problem with Billy Carson. They don't have a problem with Jimmy Church. They don't have a problem with any of those people doing conventions, selling crystals, and you know, it's $500, $600, $700, $800. Look at Contacting the Desert tickets, man. You want to go have a good time?
I couldn't believe that. Like $3,500 to like meet one of those people.
To meet people that will tell you the same shit.
Just how silly this is. If Weaponized, right, you know, hits up Milk Farts and says, "Hey, Milk Farts, you know, we'd like to have you on. We want to get your perspective, you know, on this crash thing that happened. We understand you're an expert." He's gonna go. You think he's gonna be like, "Not if a red cent is made." Like, he's not gonna say that, right? It's just, you're literally there's liars everywhere in this community. It's so frustrating and annoying. There's just bad faith frauds everywhere. It's so frustrating. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, he's gonna be on the next flight straight.
I know this is kind of off subject, but I wanted to ask about Tuba's name. Is there some sort of trademark issue going on with Skyfire News that you had to change it to Tuba instead of Tupacabra?
If I start calling someone by the wrong name, I just don't change. I just keep saying it over and over again.
Someone said something about some sort of trademark thing. I just caught the tail end of it. And so I wondered if you all were like, there was some kind of
no. Tupac Shakur's family has not contacted me or anyone else that I know of. that
was bugging me. I'm glad I got that out of the way.
But I want to say this.
There's no trademark thing.
I mean, not the fact that you're calling him Tube is bugging me. It's just I wanted to know.
You know, Keem's talking about like the ungenuineness of the community and the false people and stuff like that. Red Panda Koala, dude, his videos. If you want to know the history of the government side of UFOs, there's no better videos to watch. He is the king, and they take him painstakingly a lot of time. He's got 20,000 subs. He's not getting 100, 500,000 views on these. He's not getting a return on that. He's doing it because he loves it, and they're like movies, and they're solid. And you know, that's amazing. And they used to love him. And I remember the first time I was in a space with him, I was like, "Oh my God, I'm in a space with Red Panda Koala," and it's ridiculous. And Tupa's done some really good videos too. His Jack Parsons video is really good as well. And Tupa's just really good with art. But they're just both really good dudes trying to figure out what's going on. And then everyone just attacks them for things that have nothing to do with UFOs, nothing to do with anything. I mean, they'll call Tupa every name in the book. And I'm Jewish, and he talks to me all the time, so I don't really understand it. But, you know, I have Jewish heritage. I'm a practicing Jew. But, you know, it's ridiculous. And I think that they've always brought great things to the community. And I've heard people in spaces go, "I used to love your videos." Well, why would you not love his videos now? Because he said something in a space you disagree with.
I feel like we're using Tony's show to trauma drop.
Oh yeah, we might
trauma dump or whatever. This happened and this happened. And I disagree with this. I feel like this is like becoming me and Shane's personal rant.
No. The reason I invited Dan is because he can help us with this stuff. Because he's my in-house therapist.
I mean, we can talk about Say What You Were Con. We can talk about.
Just kidding. I'm sorry, Dan. I hope I didn't miss.
No, not at all.
But we do actually have this kind of discussion sometimes about psychology, and we get into all kinds of funny things. It's kind of not funny things. Sorry, Dan. I meant things like that. No, you can talk about whatever you want to. I mean, actually, one of my questions was going to be, how do you separate? Here's the thing. Drama is actually pretty successful, right? I mean, most of the movies you see online are dramatic movies. Humans love seeing other humans suffer. That's why we had the Colosseums, in the Roman days. People love getting that out of their system. They love seeing other people suffer. How do you separate that? Or can't? I guess you really can't, can you? You can't separate the drama for stuff from Skyfire News because the industry itself is so filled with it, right? You can't. That's the one thing I can see is going to be a challenge, is to separate. Or maybe that's not the goal. I don't know. That's kind of the question.
Well, I'm truly, like, I love drama, like, and it's no secret. Like, I love conflict and debates and all this stuff. It's what I'm truly into. And I created a multi-million-dollar brand, Drama Alert. It's massively been successful for over a decade. We started building on X this year, and we did 1 billion views in January on the new Drama Alert Twitter that we started building. So it's wildly successful. And just like you said, we all like drama and conflict. Think about when you're in school and they're teaching you history, right? What do they teach? They're teaching you drama. This country attacked that country and this debate, and it was over this is what we naturally are attracted to. I think most people.
Are you saying drama alerts on X too?
In other people's lives, more resolution in one's own life. But
yeah.
The brand.
It had a Drama Alert does have an X account, and it sat static for years and years and years. It would only post when we uploaded a YouTube video. And I took the show off of YouTube and we just do Snapchat. We got a deal with them over there. And with Elon Musk taking over X last summer, I told my team, I was like, look, let's build on Twitter. I think Twitter's going to be a thing, right? So we just started grinding and just posting news nonstop. And we've just been crushing. We built it up from, I think I had 50,000 followers to right now it's got like, I don't even know. Let me look up real quick.
Do you have people working on that also? Like,
I got a whole news team. We are at 416,000 followers. So we're moving. And like I said, January, we had a billion views in just one single month on X. So when I came over to
Twitter, on X, I saw on YouTube, it's got 5.
YouTube, we had 5 million. But what happened over at YouTube is when you produce a YouTube show, it's a lot of effort, like the type of show that I was doing. And I do my own editing. I record, I don't have scripts, but I decide what I'm going to talk about and so it was like start to finish, like really me and then my news team just helping me gather stories. And it took hours and hours, a lot of effort. It's an all day thing because as soon as I'm done and the video's out, I'm already working for the next day's show. Right. And what happened is YouTube kind of tweaked the algorithm, if you will. And all my, competitors and fellow YouTubers that aren't even competitors, they went from like a 10-minute video to like a 20-minute video. And then a lot of documentaries, a lot of podcasts, and people started covering stories that were like an hour long, right? And what they were doing by making the longer content is they were racking up watch time. And the more watch time you get, the more the algorithm pushes you. So like it really favors long content. And like now we got content creators that are covering like a drama or something, and it'll be like 3 hours or 4 hours long, and they'll upload it on YouTube. And it pushes it through the algorithm. It's a cheat code. Part of the reason why also is like, have you ever fell asleep with YouTube playing in the background? When you wake up, what are you watching? A 2-hour podcast or C-SPAN that's 7 hours long? When you wake up, you're watching on YouTube the longest video ever, right? Because even in the auto plays, YouTube has identified, okay, this person's probably asleep. Let's keep them on the platform for an entire, the entire time they're sleeping. So let's send them the longest videos possible. So I was doing a very tight, like exciting, bam, bam, bam. You're not clicking off 10-minute show, and it just couldn't compete with the watch time, and it started going down and down and down. And I think the last month check I got on YouTube was like 20 grand. I'm like, this just isn't worth it. It's too much effort. So we just exclusively went over to Snapchat. And over there, it's like, it's so easy for me to produce the show because my team will get together the news or whatever, and I'll just pull out my phone and start talking. This happened today, that happened today. They edit it and put it up on Snapchat, and it takes me about a good 15 to 30 minutes a day to get my show done and produce my show now. So it's given me all this free time. So what I did is then I launched Happy Punch, and I created that brand, which covers influencer boxing news. We grew that brand into getting millions and millions of views every single month on Instagram, on X. And we represented fighters, and those fighters, like, fight for misfits and whatnot. So that's been wildly successful. But that was 2023, and 2024 is building Skyfire. So now that I got all this free time, I'm trying to put it into the things that I'm really interested in. But to bring you back to how do you separate drama from Skyfire News? You don't, because it's all drama. Like what? Yeah. Let's look at Roswell, right? The whole thing from beginning to end is drama. Like every aspect of this topic is drama. People don't want to recognize that, but it is true. That's what this is. You got the government trying to hide certain things. You got other people in the government that are whistleblowers and trying to do disclosure. It's all drama. It's all drama. So, I don't see it different at all. I see it all the same thing.
Well, you got the intelligence communities creating their own drama inside the online communities, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the government first, reports crashed, Roswell is a crashed UFO, and then they ran a story the next day. It was a weather balloon. So who created the drama there, right?
This is what I'm saying.
I mean, look at Kecksburg, man. That whole place turned into an episode of Stranger Things for a whole weekend, and the government was like, "Everyone stay in your homes." And Jeeps driving through, and then a whole bunch of disinformation on that. You can look at Mothman. You can look at any of this kind of stuff. But to say, especially on Twitter, on X of all places, there's no drama, especially in the UFO community, you're blind or you're lying to yourself. It's all over. And there's nothing wrong with talking about it, I don't think, because it's just a part of it.
Yeah.
Is that why the world tends to be, this is maybe a question for Dan, is that why the world tends to be at war? Is because they favor drama over peace and just stability? And so it's like trickled into our entire existence as humans?
Yeah, I mean, it's not human nature to want drama. I mean, drama at a distance is entertaining, but I think when it kind of hits home or impacts you or could impact you, that's when apprehension and fear come in. That's what people don't want. But safe drama at a different distance, that's absolutely entertaining. Just like in Roman times, going to the Colosseum, it was fun to watch it from the stands.
Well, X is kind of something you can turn off, though, right? It is kind of at a distance. It's not like it's in your living room, though, right?
I can choose
to make it. You can choose to bring it into your living room, and then you can turn it off.
I guess people may have different definitions for drama. I see almost everything as drama, all conflict. You want to go to your boss and you want to ask for, higher wages because you feel like you've been doing more in the office than everyone else. Like, that's drama. Like, I just see all conflict as drama. All debate is drama.
It's not conflict. It's not all conflict is drama. It's just that some it's like acting, or there's some practice and rehearsal involved in that, and it's drama maybe if there are other people viewing it, which is what you've been doing very well. But I could call it assertiveness or being confrontational. Or
do you think it's ultimately it's like clashes of egos, right? And perceptions. Like the only reason there's drama is because people have different perceptions on an idea or concept. So that's what it's like. It's like a conscious friction that's existing.
I guess let's do this. Can you guys tell me the major stories that are happening in the UFO community over the last 30 days? Or let's just say 2024, this year.
I've started working with Dr. Jim Segala to release the MooPass device. I don't really pay attention to other people's lives, you know.
I was surprised to see the Mexican journalist come out with a new date on a new, exposing more of his alien bodies. I hope they're different alien bodies. I hope they're not the same ones.
Well, guess what? They're not. They're going to be the same ones, and they're trash. But
is that along the lines of what you were asking about, KEEMSTAR?
Well, I was just trying to have you guys kind of tell me stories that are happening in the community for 2024, and then trying to think about it. Like, is that drama? Would that be considered drama?
For me, if you want real drama, you could just go into a space on Twitter on any given day, right?
Yeah, but for me, the mummy story, I mean, to me, it's drama.
Yeah, I guess releasing technology that detects UFOs, not drama. I guess that's what I was talking about.
Well, I think.
Yeah, I was unfamiliar with that, but
like Jesse Michaels, Townsend Brown documentary was pretty much news. That was pretty cool, and that's drama. It's a dude who had to literally lie about his experiments because he knew he was going to get shut down, and he had like a whole term for it. And of course, the Mexican alien mummies, and then a lot of the stuff that we talk about is like really niche stuff that's really only on UFO Twitter. But I mean, it's all drama based. It's all. Someone was wronged here, or this person did this, or something along those lines. I mean, Contact in the Desert is a big story. That's a big drama for me because I think it's ridiculous. It's $3,500 to have a good weekend on a UFO convention. But yeah,
I'm really interested on the thing that you're. Sorry for cutting you off, Tony. And the thing that you're developing. Could you explain more about that?
Yeah, Dr. Jim Segala was one of the head scientists for season 1 of Skinwalker Ranch.
Okay.
And during his time there, he invented a piece of technology called the MooPass device, and it basically detects fluctuations in gravity, electromagnetism, seismic, acoustic, basically every type of vibration you can sense, it detects. And so he's developed a few different models, and he's done a study for the last 3 years. And basically, he's found correlations with spikes of gamma radiation, also gyroscopic data. He did a double-blind study essentially with experiencers for the last 3 years, and now he's releasing the product to market. And so I'm working with him to help release the product to market. And he's got a few different designs, and it's pretty straightforward technology.
Wait, so just normal citizens will be able to buy this?
Yes, yeah. It's basically a piece of hidden, secret technology that's now being released to the public.
I want one.
I'm on the wait list. We had Jim Segala on the 2 or 3 shows ago.
I'm building
he actually shows the device.
Jim left Skinwalker Ranch, correct, on the first season. He went to Blind Frog Ranch with Dwayne after that, correct?
Yeah, so that's where I met him. Actually, was in Vernal, Utah, and we were at Blind Frog Ranch, and I was launching.
Did you have to sign an NDA? Did Dwayne make you sign an NDA? Lucius?
Yeah, I know those guys. Yeah.
Have you guys figured out your marketing strategy yet?
Not 100%. Okay. We're still working on. We're finalizing basically. We're finalizing the strategy at this moment.
They need you, Keen. They really need you because
let's set up a meeting.
You got 2 tech guys, two science guys, 2 tech guys who that's one of the things I was
I can bring up one of the devices, but it's not the one we're selling. Like the one we're selling looks nice. It's clean. It's real small, compact, like a cell phone. I can bring up the one that he used on Skinwalker Ranch. I have it in my living room.
Have you met James Keenan while you've been out there?
No, I met Dwayne and Michelle, I think was her name. She might have been out there.
James Keenan does a lot of work with the same stuff you're talking about out at Skinwalker Ranch. He's good friends with Chris Bartell, and I would love to talk to him. But yeah, that's pretty neat, man. I mean, I kept asking, like, where did he go? Because he's not in any of the other seasons. And then I was told he went to Blind Frog Ranch, which, Dwayne said that alien spacecrafts came out of the sky and healed his daughter with vibrations, and found out that actually happened in Texas, not at Blind Frog Ranch. And I don't really trust Dwayne that much, man. I love his story that he tells, but I don't buy it for a second. But I'm kind of a skeptic when it comes to that kind of stuff. But
was there also a guy named Charlie there?
I don't remember, to be honest.
Okay, I'm trying to remember who I was hanging out with there. But yeah,
They won't let me on. They won't let me on Blind Frog Ranch for a second.
Yeah, Chris Lato and I basically launched a weather balloon out there. It landed in Dinosaur National Monument Park in Colorado, and so I had to like hike. I had to drive as far as possible up the top of a mountain, and then like hike through the woods, and
we had to hire a local guide to get you through the pass or whatever.
Yeah, no, that was such a wild trip. We actually documented it pretty good on Artisan's show. Like,
yeah, it was pretty good.
We broke it
into pretty exciting to see Alexei go through all that experience.
That was kind of ridiculous.
That was some good drama. See, drama can be exciting too, right?
That's action. That's not really drama. That's action. Like there's action movies, there's dramas, there's romances.
I think drama can be exciting or tearing, make you cry or make you sad, or there's all kinds of emotions, right? Dan,
well, I think you're right. We just came up with a definition in the chat. Drama is can be an exciting, emotional, or unexpected series of circumstances.
Dude, yeah, that's good. And someone in the chat just brought up Stardust Ranch. That's one of my favorite stories, is Stardust Ranch. Have you ever looked that up? Stardust Ranch is crazy.
Is that with the guy that's like cutting off alien heads with a sword?
Yeah, he had a samurai sword, and he was like, whoa, like fighting the aliens, and then he sent the blood off to a scientist, and the lab burned down. And then the wife called him and was like, yeah, he was actually murdered, and then the wife died 2 weeks later, and it's like, oh, holy crap. Yeah, he was killing aliens with a samurai sword, and he was live streaming one time, and an alien like looks behind him, and he's like, I gotta get my samurai sword. Yeah, that's an awesome story. I love that story. And they bought the ranch.
You made me just
think not that many people knew about it. Like I thought that was a more popular ranch. Like it's a big story.
Brother, I've read everything there is to read. I love all the stories.
Shane, you just made me realize why Skyfire News has to be successful, so that you all can start doing like on-site reporting. Like, so if Keem makes enough money, you all can go around and
dude, I'm
interview
telling you,
people.
bro, he could take me to like some ancient site and be like, all right, Shane, you're going by yourself. You got battery packs. And I'll just be like, all right, and just stumble in. Dude,
can you imagine Shane on the ground interviewing people? That would be amazing. This is the first time I've actually looked up the definition of drama, and it's actually like insane and exciting, emotional. I know you just mentioned this, or unexpected series of events of set circumstances. That describes this whole phenomenon like to a T. Like it's all.
That's why I said I think Keemstar was right. In I was challenging your proposition, but I think you're right.
It's like I just felt that way, but now that I'm looking at the actual definition, wow, yeah. And by the way, I opened up Twitter DMs with you, so we have a point of contact.
That's awesome.
Let me just say this: who else with as many? Like, if you try to get a hold of people with even like a 10% of the followers this dude has, they won't even talk to you. But Keem will talk to you all day long. He sends me funny voice clips for no reason on my days off.
The reason, Tony, why I'm so bad with planning, like, okay, I'm going to be here at this time, is because I'm seating my pants like all day long. This is going on. I'm on the phone with this. I'm doing that. Like, I never plan anything because I know, something will come up. But
well, I do appreciate you responding to. I had to actually apologize to Keemstar because I was trying to say most of the things I say on Twitter are supposed to be sort of funny. Okay, it's like when I was calling Gary Nolan a rude bastard today. That was supposed to be funny, okay? It didn't come across very funny. But I said something about Keemstar coming to the UFO community and just taking over and corrupting it. And I didn't really mean corrupting, because I was like, oh, okay. But Keemstar called me out on it. And I was like, oh no, this is bad. So
well, it came at me hard, and I'm like, what? I've never had a bad interaction with Tony. What is this about? I'm like,
but that's the thing. You interacted with me, and I appreciated that. And so it's like anything. It's like I was trying to say this about Ashton too, is that if you get people in here and you talk to them, you realize they're good people and they have all the good intentions in the world. And it's like I'm saying, if you make money, that's great. I think that's awesome. I would love to see Shane out a roving reporter. That would be awesome with a camera guy. Yeah. But you gotta make money to be able to do that.
Yeah, all this stuff costs money. It's
I mean, your trip if you build it, they will come. You strap enough cameras to me, man. I'm stumbling around a haunted, sanatorium. You're gonna make at least $785,000.
Yeah, and in the short term, I also want to grab more people from the community and give them like their own spaces on Skyfire. You know, people that are knowledgeable or entertaining. If they have entertaining value, where you know, they're a great researcher and they're going to be able to drop knowledge. You know, that's entertaining. Or if there's
How many
someone like
contributors
Shane
do you
that's
have
gonna.
so far?
I'm sorry.
How many contributors or guests have you had on it? The news via.
How many guests? Well, we do a weekly show where we just go through the news, and that's every Friday. And it's a Twitter space, and we've had Eric Weinstein, Jesse Michaels. I mean, we've had some big people. Did we have was Brandon Fugel in our space? Shane, do you remember that?
So,
Was
yeah.
that on our space? I think that
And
was.
he came into mine too, but I'm pretty sure he was on Skyfire as well.
He's in one of our spaces. So yeah, we've had some pretty big guests, but it's getting bigger and bigger each week. So now I want to start, you know, having a space there every single day. But you know, different people like UFO-Shane's take, and you know, maybe like a Cambion, right? I think he's a good like debunker, skeptic on this stuff. You know, maybe host a show for him. You know, some more believers in the phenomenon, host shows for them, and just kind of build it out that way. Like, if you're into this topic, I want you to be able to come to Skyfire and hear what everyone's saying, because I think it is beneficial to the individual consumer, but also I think it kind of will stop some of this cult-like stuff that's happening, because there's a lot of cult-like stuff, right? Where, you know, these people are in their groups and someone said something that they disagreed, so we're going to go swat them and dox them and call their job and harass them. And I'm like, this stuff is so weird. It like feels like Scientology or something in this community.
Exactly.
Like it's cult-like, it's weird. So hopefully by having a platform that represents all views on the subject, that'll stop some of that too.
That's a good mission. Awesome.
I think it's important too to get people that aren't in the community like familiar with it, like you were saying, like an introduction level before they see the madness of the community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
and to not be polarized, like you were saying, to take both sides, you know, and just present information. Yeah.
I'm an expert in like online entertainment, the entertainment world, right? That's like Drumler is basically like the TMZ of the internet. And like just the device that you're making right now, my thought process is, okay, every popular streamer that has like 50,000 people watching live is going to want this device to do a stream, to put it out there to see if they can get a UFO. They're going to want to do that. Like, I'm thinking of the content creation right away, which is also the marketing strategy that I would implement. But then also you have to hit multiple different realms, right? You'd have to get the entertainment side, but then you'd also have to get the serious people using this product as well. You'd have to get
the people behind the scene too. The scientists, you could say the mad scientists that are actually like collecting data from every single device, and the experiencers are logging in what happens during that time. So almost every single person that has this device is now part of a global study describing UFOs, the conscious interaction with them, as well as like you could say the physical fluctuations within the environment. And that's really what's going to take.
It's like a
properly explain this.
It's like a huge blind study too, right? It's like a humongous blind study, because they don't know if their data on a given day is being used for.
That's what we're still trying to figure it out. We don't want to give them access to the data immediately unless they pay, maybe, because in order to do a true double-blind study, they can't be aware of the data, because if not, the placebo effect could be influencing it. So it's almost like we have two different studies going on: people that are aware that they have the device and people that are unaware of the information from the device, right?
Well, I was telling Jim, I thought he should make a model that was just people could just play with. Because I have on my shelf here somewhere, I have just a normal radiation detector. I thought that was just cool, right?
And that's why that's the second study, right? So you break up the groups into people that are aware of their data and people that are unaware of the data, and then you have a third, right? So it's still a good study to do. It's just not as good as the double blind, you could say. It's a different way to look at it.
Tony, I got a radiation detector, and it's like a small keychain one, right? Because I'm a little bit of a prepper, right? I'm just prepared just in case shit happens, right? But I'm not crazy about it. But anyhow, it's a keychain. So it was on my backpack when I traveled. I didn't realize how much radiation is happening at the goddamn airports. When you go through TSA, that thing is whistling like someone just dropped a nuke and like you need to get out of there. Like we don't understand. We have no concept of how much radiation we're getting when we go through TSA. It is so bad. That little thing is like whistling like insane. It's going off nuts.
Well, and we don't. Most people don't even understand the exposure to radon we have on a daily basis. You know, just coming out of the earth, you know, that's a big thing in the construction industry. But
I have a pipe right here that blows it out through my basement bar. Yeah.
I mean, something as simple as concrete gives off a small amount of radiation just from the use of the materials. It's awesome.
My camper has a built-in radon detector, which is pretty wild. My camper.
Oh yeah,
I have a camper. It has the built-in radon detector in there. It's pretty cool.
You know, it's funny, Keem. It's almost like you're, you know, some of the news sites I don't subscribe to them. I guess I see them. There's no way to interact with, you know, you're seeing the news, but there's no way to complain about it or interact with it, right? Some websites have comment sections on them, but you don't really get feedback from the content creator. And it's funny because I can almost see a value to that, to where you should just be able to put out content without any sort of interference. But on the other hand, X, you know, is going to be a place where it's going to be the exact opposite of that, right? You can put out news and it's heavily, you know, commented, or the drama can continue, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
It's not like a newspaper. You know, you get mad at a newspaper, you wad it up and throw it away. You can't comment. You know, I don't know why that thought just came to me. I think people should be happy you get an online news, you know, that you can comment on. You know.
Yeah, I like to confront the, you know, some of the criticism head on. Like I'll try to, like, if someone's talking shit, they're saying this or that, you know, we're doing this wrong or we're covering. Let's set up a show, get in a space. Let's talk about it. Right. Which it turns into a quick block. Right. I had Stephen Greenstreet. I forgot what he was saying. He was saying that like we didn't reference the original tweet and we took a quote from one of his tweets and that we should have referenced the original tweet of his. And I'm like, okay, bro, you just uploaded a video. You had UAP Mike's tweet right in there. You only showed a section. And then you didn't reference it. You didn't tag the original tweet in the description of your YouTube video. So I called him out on hypocrisy. This dude blocks me. This dude blocks me. That's the end of the conversation. End of debate. I prove his hypocrisy.
Didn't you say there was something about the algorithm, about putting the link in the comment section instead of in the actual? What is that about? What is that?
So if you make a post and you @ somebody on X, right? It's not going to get as many views as if you didn't @ them. Now, if you like @ them and then have text after the @ that's only going to be seen by people that follow you and that people follow the person that you've added. That's it. Like your own followers are not going to see it unless they also follow the person that you added. Now, if you have text and then the @ right, where you tag somebody, even that is not going to get the same amount of views as a tweet without the @ involved in it. So, you know, I'm coming at this as an expert in social media and like really understanding this stuff. And we have credited the source of every clip that we have put out, but we just didn't @ them. You know, we're saying that UFO podcast, we're writing that out. We're just not adding their Twitter for that purpose. And people are all bent out of shape. And that UFO podcast was one of these people that got upset and claimed that we stole their clip, which we did not at all. We referenced where the source was and all that. But I quickly go to these guys' Twitter, and sure enough, they're taking clips from IGN and reposting it to their Twitter with no mentions, no credits to the original source of this content. So it's like, this is what you're
But
dealing with.
But you're a news site. You have to, you have to have a different set of standards, right?
We credited them. It literally says,
I'm just kidding. I'm just
this
saying
clip coming
people
from that
expect you
UFO
to have-
podcast. So the hypocrisy, well, I mean, Stephen Greenstreet, he's a journalist, right? I got him in hypocrisy, and like, he tweeted at me and I tweeted at him, like, I think it was 4 or 5 minutes later, showing his hypocrisy. And, he didn't want to have the conversation anymore. Yeah, he wanted to block me. He didn't want to have the conversation.
But I guarantee you, if I had him in here, one time I invited him because I had Mick West on. We were talking about the jellyfish or whatever. He popped in. We had a really nice conversation. They talked. We talked. We didn't have any drama. And of course, it was the most boring show ever, right? But because they just talked about data, there was no drama. And but he's a nice guy. I bet if I had him in here, he would unblock you. We would all be friends.
Oh,
See,
I like him and I like his content.
Yeah.
But again, this is me on the defense once again. He's called me out for some horse shit. Sorry for a lack of a better word. Stuff that he just did the following day in the video that he uploaded. It's insane.
I'm curious. So what happens if you tag them in the comment of your post? Is that the same as like reducing the visibility?
So you make the original post, right? Let's say here we would write out, here's a clip from Tony's show, right? And that's the source. And then there's the video clip, right? From, let's say, the show that we're doing right now. Then underneath it, then you can tag, and underneath it, then you can link like the original content and stuff like that. But even that hurts the original top post a little bit, because these platforms don't want you leaving Twitter. They don't want you clicking on a YouTube video. They don't want you clicking on an Instagram post. So if you put any type of link in your tweet, right, which all these UFO guys want, they want links directly to their tweet, it's not going to get the visibility that you want it to get.
Well,
And
I mean,
people
ultimately, so you're not tagging them, but at the same time, they're getting more views and credibility, more views than if
exactly. And here's the thing. People are not dumb. All right. When you go on Twitter and you see a tweet, this exciting thing happened in the UFO community, and they write out, not tag, but they write out, this happened on Weaponized or something, right? You're going to go to Google, you're going to type in Weaponized, and then you're going to be on their YouTube channel. Like, is the tweet and the tag really that necessary if you're spelling out exactly what the branding is and where it's from? It's not even that necessary. So, when we came into the scene, I noticed right away that there are a lot of people, a lot of content creators, a lot of influencers, a lot of people that just run Twitter Spaces that are gatekeepers, right? They will sit there and they will tell you until they're blue in the face, we want this to be popular. We want disclosure. We want more people involved. They will go and say, we need people like, signing petitions and calling congressmen. But then when someone else comes new into the scene and wants to cover this stuff, then it's all of a sudden, they're bad, they're this, they're that, they're that. You're all phonies. There's gatekeepers everywhere. Like, they don't really want this information out to the public. They want to control their narratives and they want to protect their own little thing. And that's the only way I can explain Lou Review's attacking me with all his nonsense. Tony, did you happen to see my rebuttal?
I remember this. I don't remember the exact rebuttal, but I do remember that little drama. As a matter of fact, that's how I got caught up into it a little bit. My post was, yeah.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say my post was about around the same time, right? So I almost let myself get caught up in that same mentality. When I was saying, "Oh, Keem's going to come in and corrupt the UFO community," and then I was like, "What am I saying?"
So, Tony, I made a 2-hour response to every claim that he made against Skyfire News. It's on a channel that I don't use anymore. It's called the KEEMSTAR Show. It ran for a short period of time. It was a podcast that we just stopped doing. But it's 2 hours. I will link you on Twitter. You have to watch it. Everything this guy said about my brand is just literally false. Like, he made up stuff. It's so insane. Here's one example. We covered the fact that you guys know the Wikipedia story that's going on right now, where they're claiming Wikipedia is going after the people involved in ufology and, you know, saying that they're, you know, conspiracy theorists and all this other stuff, right? I don't think that's a big deal because I don't use Wikipedia. I don't think any younger person uses Wikipedia. We all know the site is just nonstop misinformation, wrong information. Nobody gives that any credit, but, you know, older people do. Regardless,
I'm older. I don't give it any.
Yeah, like
I think it's antiquated. And AI is going to make it, you know.
Well, like, universities don't let you even use Wikipedia. They're like, that is not a source.
Exactly. So when I seen this story pop up and it was like a big thing in the UFO community, I'm thinking to myself, y'all are making a big deal out of nothing. Like that site's like nobody gives credibility to that site. What are you talking about? But regardless, a petition was made. There was like something like, you know, 500 signatures or 5,000 or something. I don't remember the exact numbers. So Skyfire News covered the fact that this petition has started and how many signatures it had. We covered that it exists. And this is what's going on because it was a big story. Lou Reviews quote retweets that and says, Skyfire News has quickly turned to news to Activision. It's not our petition. We're not promoting or advertising. Hey guys, go sign over here. We're reporting that it exists. And this is what people are talking about today. So that was like one thing. Then he made up some nonsense that I was spreading revenge porn, which I don't even want to go to that story, but it's not true at all. What else? There's a bunch of stuff. I had to write.
I actually did see that video you were talking. It just occurred to me I did see that.
Let me explain this a little bit because I can't leave you on that cliffhanger of revenge porn. And just so there is this this woman who's very popular right now. Her name is Bobby Altoff, and she interviews all these celebrities, and she's massively popular. And a video was going around of her naked or whatever, and it was a deep fake. It was like AI generated. It's not real. So my show covered the fact that these leaks existed and that it was fake and that, you know, this is all nonsense. It's AI generated. And when we do that Snapchat show, we upload like our thumbnail of what our show is, you know, our title, and then we say link in bio. And because you don't want to put the link, otherwise that tweet's not going to get any views. And then the link that's in our Twitter bio goes to our Snapchat show. That tweet got community noted, and it said, actually, the leaks on Bobby, this is the community, you know, the leaks on Bobby are fake. They're AI generated. They're deep fakes or whatever. And here's some sources proving that they're a deep fake. You know what one of the links were in the community notes on us? A link to us. They were using us as a source to say that our original tweet is wrong, right? So whoever put the community note on us is reading that like that we're spreading the leaks or something, when really the link in the bio goes to the Snapchat show. So Lou Reviews doesn't do 2 seconds of research to click on the link in our bio, and then he starts spreading this nonsense to his audience that we're promoting revenge porn. That's a crime. I'm not doing that. What are you talking about? Anyhow,
I mean, that's part of the problem I see with having a show. I like Lou and Steven, whatever. I've had Lou was on the show a year ago or something. But the problem with those types of shows is that you have to have a constant feed of drama. You can't be like me where you're doing, you know, debunker video, interview one day and a true believer the next day. You have to constantly have a supply of drama. And I would say that's kind of difficult, actually. In some cases, you have to go out and create the drama, right, yourself, or just to have the content.
Who, me?
No, I'm talking about Lou and channels like Lou and Steven. They thrive. That's their main source of content, or their viewers expect that.
I'm from a world where if I publicly say something that's false, right, like Lou did to me, there would be 5 different exposed videos on me saying Keemstar lied about this, right? Like everyone would use that as an opportunity to make a piece of content to drag me and drag my brand and call me a liar. That's the world I come from with this mainstream entertainment, right? Or online entertainment. So when I see these people in the UFO community And they're just spewing nonsense and false allegation after false allegations. And there's no police officers in this community, right? There's no cops. There's no one to police it saying that guy's a liar. That guy's making up stuff. He's getting exposed for spreading information. I'm like, this is wild. This is like the wild, wild west. Like there's no cops over here.
Maybe that can be another character on Twitter we can create here.
I know.
The UFO police. They just, no, I'm just kidding.
Huh. Well, Dan, do you have any questions for Shane or Keem? Keem, are we supposed to call
I'm so
you
sorry,
Keem?
Shane. I like robbed all of your time over here.
No, that's fine, man. I love listening
No,
to you
I think
talk.
I'm good. I've enjoyed being on with you two. I just discovered you tonight. I just looked you up, and I'm psyched to get to know you in the media space. But no, just enjoy being here.
Appreciate that, Dan.
What about you, Alexei? Do you have any?
Well, I like where Shane was going with his whole thought process behind like UFOs, right? You're talking about Vimana, you're talking about like the Vedic texts and all that kind of stuff. All my work has come from like modern accepted physics and then just really diving into meditation and trying to understand that. And I end up speaking about something that everyone says, hey, you've read the Vedas, right? I'm like, no, I haven't. But it all relates to the different energetic states that exist within time and the precessional cycle of Earth. And ultimately that vortex of infinity around that greatest center. And so what does that ultimately lead to? Well, doesn't it lead to 5D technologies like anti-gravity, time travel? I don't know if Shane wants to run down this rabbit hole real quick or not. I know it's kind of...
Oh, no, you're fine. I think a lot of these stuff, a lot of our technologies we have now, right? Like the electricity we're using to run our laptops and stuff, right? Or our computers, right? Nikola Tesla, correct? You know, but you get raised and you're told it was Edison, but it wasn't. You know, Tesla wasn't good with money. He was basically a lunatic, a mad lad lunatic. And he created basically our entire infrastructure. There are other great people like that were crazy, but a lot of the stuff came from within them. That came from some spark that they didn't know about. And that's why I really love the Vedic text, because it tells you to reach within yourself, find these things, along with having cool stuff like the Vimanas in there. But it teaches you about your mental state, what you can achieve, what you can connect to that's greater than you, that can give you influence and passion in life to create more advanced things that would better your existential life here in your body. So I really, that's why I respect the Vedic text so much. And that's why I feel like you were saying, right? So.
I was just curious as to your thoughts, because I really like how you brought that up, and I like where you went with it, though. You know, because I was talking about two different things, but you're like, no, it actually gives you good principles to live by.
Yeah, it does, and then it doesn't. Being raised Southern Baptist and Jewish and Pentecostal there for a while, it's all really the same. It's an Abrahamic faith, and then I tell my family like, hey, I'm gonna read. I'm gonna read the Bhagavad Gita. I'm gonna read some Vedas, and they're like, oh no, that's all demons and stuff. And then, or like when I wanted to read the Quran, everyone in my whole family was like, oh, you can't read that. And then like Jesus is like, he's not the son of God in the Quran, but he's a prophet on the same level as Muhammad. Like he's as their lead prophet. And then Jesus is like, if you look into it, Jesus is like held up as a great man in all of these religions. Then you look into where these religions come from, how old they are, how old the Hindu faith is, and then like Zoroastrianism. No one ever brings up Zoroastrianism, and it's really old too. Really cool stuff. And I just think, what is a religion for? It's to give you a guideline to live by, but you shouldn't be. I felt like I was kind of still like stinted on what to do or what to read, and I think it was very open for me to read these other religions and kind of see where they're coming from. I mean, hell, Hinduism has a whole continent, of like a bunch of people that love it and worship it, and they have their different sects and everything like that. And then, you have like, my big thing is I love ancient history. I go to bed and listen to Graham Hancock's books and stuff like that. And you talk about Mohenjo-Daro. Do you know about Mohenjo-Daro, Lucius?
I'm not sure if I do. Okay,
Mohenjo-Daro is a city that we found that still, if Keem went there with his radon detector, he would turn around and run like immediately. And it's old. It's super old. And they found these black balls there, and they found bodies in huddled positions. And it's in the Vedas that this place exists. And then it's just gone. And they're like, oh, it's not real. It's not real. It's basically the Sodom and Gomorrah of the Vedic text. And they find it. They know it's there because it's right where they said it was, because that's usually what happens with the Hindu text. And yeah, Dr. Dan, you were awesome, man. I look forward to talking to you. But yeah, and so they find these things, and they were vitrified. They were clay pots that were so hot that they turned into the base form of matter, which is like coal. And they're okay, and then they go find these bodies huddled down, and they're still irradiated. And in the Vedic text, I think it was Shiva or Krishna, like went above it with their weapon and burned it to the ground. And someone in the distance was like, yeah, the people's nails were falling out, their hair was falling out, they were jumping in the water to get relief, and nothing happened. Like basically just watched a nuclear bomb go off, like 1,500 years ago. And then, but up until like the 1950s and 60s, they're like, this place doesn't even exist. And then they find it. And then everyone's just like, oh, cool, it's real. And then you never hear about it. But what's that? The same thing with the lost city of Shiva. They said that wasn't real. One earthquake, one tsunami later, there it is. It's right there. The whole city, all of its majesticness. It's there.
Yeah, I think the problem
because
is
it's not mainstream, man.
I think the problem is
almost
almost that we assume like technology has been very linear, like that, and that it hasn't
been. Oh,
yeah.
I'll talk about
that. That, right? And so to think that we're at our most advanced state might not be correct.
Dude, what if, this is my thing, like we have technology based on what we understand now.
Yep.
What if there's a totally different branch of technology using things we can't even comprehend or understand? Like, you know what I mean? Like if you look at the Ark of the Covenant,
a lot of the ancient stuff says is there was the flood that wiped everything out and the civilization somewhat restarted.
Yeah, the flood myths are great. That actually comes from the Hindu faith with the goldfish and all that. That's where it all originates.
Can we call it a myth anymore? Because I feel like that we just have too much evidence that these giant floods happened,
These giant floods. That's what I want. They were, people lived by rivers, and then these rivers, every couple hundred years, when everything's gone. And the only civilization I can think of that didn't have that had a massive flood and survived it was China. If you look into the Chinese flood lore, it's pretty dope. Like there's a whole emperor that still prays to this day because he kept everyone alive during the flood. He didn't just take some animals, he kept everybody going. And I don't know, man. Like we've only been around here for so long, and even if you look at some of our oldest religions, Hinduism, Zoroastrianism, things like that, they only go back 6,000 years. And then if you go to Babylonian, Sumerian stuff with the Enuma Elish and things like that, it goes back a little bit further, but it's rough. And then people, 10, 15 years ago, people said that 12,000 years ago we were just running around in trees throwing harpoons at gazelle. And then they find Göbekli Tepe, and then they find Karahan Tepe, which is even older than Göbekli Tepe. And they have all these big things like, oh, this is the moment, man. This is where everyone built things. And then they're like, well, but they made beer. Oh, they figured out how to make beer here too. It's crazy. All in the same 10-year period. It's ridiculous. Like you don't know, we just, that's the thing about scientists and modern science. And John Anthony West is a big hero of mine. May he rest in massive peace. Dr. Robert Schoch, Christopher Dunn, who's been on Danny Jones. These guys are just trying to tell you to keep your mind open, if you follow, the Native American teachings and things like that, they all come from a civilization that was greater as well. Mother Spider, all those lores, all that stuff. And it's just fascinating.
Yeah. You're talking about all this lost technology, ancient technology that we had, but you started the conversation talking about Nikola Tesla, who I just looked up, died in 1943. Yep. And we lost technology right there on his death. They took all the, you know what I mean? And that was what, 60 years ago, 70 years, 80 years ago?
He was living in a hotel. First of all, he built Wardenclyffe Tower, which was going to give free energy to the world, and which we studied how electricity works, and it would have worked the way he wanted it to work. And then he died. He lost his funding, J.P. Morgan, and then he died alone in a hotel. And people said he made love to pigeons and stuff like that. Not true. The dude just was really lonely and just talked to pigeons because he didn't have anyone else to talk to. And he had the KGB on one side and the United States government on the other side of his hotel rooms waiting on him to die. And when he died, they took all of that information, and Trump's great uncle, I think it was, studied it for 2 weeks, all of this stuff, and said there was nothing of importance in there. The guy who made our entire infrastructure, his entire life work was nothing. Don't look into it, guys. We're good. And then they just went into the warehouse 13,
Do you guys know
using the same electric motor that he designed in the 30s?
Do you guys know about this conspiracy about Baron Trump being a time
The
traveler?
time traveler. Yeah, I love the story of Baron Trump, man.
That is so fun. I love that one.
I put that one up there with like the Green Children of Wothrop and the Inner Earth, the Viking Inner Earth stories and stuff like that. It was pretty cool. It's always
this
fun.
was so cool. In case anyone in the audience doesn't know, there's a book that was written about. The title of the book is literally like Baron Trump,
It's The Adventures of Baron Trump or something like that.
yeah, right. And the story is about him like going to Middle Earth or some craziness, and he's a time traveler, right? And then the next story that or the next book that the same author puts out is it's titled The Last President. And The Last President is about this guy named Don Trump or something. It's like, it's so wild that this was written in the 1800s and how it all links up to this. Like, it's just insane.
You know what's kind of, you know what would be kind of cool, Ken, is if you had like on Fridays like a theme where you did crazy stories like that, and then if it was like a theme, then people would accept that, okay, today's the day we're going to get like a crazy story or something. You know what I mean? And it wouldn't be something they could attack you for.
I always do the.
I wonder how you develop that sort of thing, Tony, where you can release what you want and not have to worry about it.
Tony, I'm always fighting with people in this UFO space, but the thing is, it's because I'm under attack every day. It's a new like crazy thing that isn't true, and I have to defend myself, right?
Yeah.
But eventually, I will. My voice will. I'll come to enough shows and I'll be able to explain like this person made up this false claim and this person, and then the people that are like spewing nonsense, they will have less viewers, right? Because you have to have credibility and trust, especially in this space. And if you're one of these people that are slinging nonsense nonstop, eventually the viewers will recognize that. Then the people that are acting in good faith, right, and having, real conversations and real debates about their opinions, those will rise up. The bad actors will fall away, and we're going to be able to get to this topic, the stuff that I really want to cover. And that's like, a lot of these conspiracies and whatnot. And Skyfire News put out a post that got some criticism, but I absolutely loved it. Doty is someone that nobody trusts. There isn't a single person in this community that trusts Doty, right? I get it, right? But I'm going to sit there and listen to every Doty story. I want Doty to put me to bed every night. Tell me another story, Doty, as I go into my slumber. Doty is like one of the most entertaining people in this space. He will tell you story after story, and it's all interesting. But can you trust him? Probably not. Regardless, the one thing that I haven't seen talked that much about is the different alien races. And Doty has 5 identified alien races. So I tell Tuba, I'm like, look, we have this AI technology. We can go through everything Rick Doty has said about these alien races, get all of his descriptions. We can put it into the AI technology, and it will give us a picture of what each of these things look like, right? So sure enough, Tuba does it. He makes a thread with all the Doty identified races of aliens, and it goes massively viral, and it's massively successful, right? And the source of this is Rick Doty. Instantly, Skyfire, I can't believe you're putting this out, and da-da-da-da. It's like...
Yeah, it's not my drawing of a reptilian.
That's where a lot of people don't understand, too, that Doty, he's on the Thomas Fessler show now, like, all the time, right? And he's trying to, like, tell the truth, in a way, tell as much truth as he can versus what he was doing in the past. We all know his history, and he gets a break. He gets a pass. We know he's a CIA dude. He was, he was messing with people back in the day. He was one of the Mirage Men.
He gets a lot for Benowitz, the Benowitz story, and everyone killed Benowitz like whenever he talked about it. But Benowitz actually died in 2003, and the whole Doty thing was in like 1988, something like that.
See, that's the thing. I'm not trying to say I wish people were more like me. I'm saying that I lived back then, and I remember these things. I was around when the internet first came online. I remember all the forums, and I have forgiven Rick Doty for that.
From my personal experience,
why can't we just forgive him and move on? I asked for his email address. What's her name? Money Penny. She's gonna have you all.
Doty has me blocked, and whenever he was asked about it in a space, he said, "I didn't block him. It was a weird accident." He's never unblocked me.
That
Yeah.
question: why is there Rick Doty appearing for a statement in this documentary and that documentary, or he's on a Twitter space? Where is the Rick Doty documentary? I want to see nothing but Rick Doty. I want him to have a full hour to tell stories and someone sit down with him in his den while he's sipping a little tea. I want the Rick Doty documentary. And
It's
also, both sides.
It's called
Like,
Mirage.
I thought I mentioned to you that him and I like are in email communication. Like,
You haven't given me his email address though yet. Dang you.
Well, I was working on it. I'm working on it.
Everybody's that's one thing I've learned in the UFO community. Everyone is a hoarder. They don't want me to have Rick Doty's, not you, Alexei, but I've asked 20 people for Rick Doty's email. No, I don't know. He was on my show, but he can't come onto your show.
Dude, Tony, Ralph has it. Ralph is really good friends with Doty.
But
ladies and
I think
gentlemen, we have
KEEMSTAR-
breaking news. Chris Bartell put in the chat, ask Doty why he spent one day on Skinwalker Ranch.
Oh, dude, I've never asked him that.
Did he get afraid overnight? What you should do, Keemstar, you should take some of the Drama Alert money and do a Rick Doty documentary. That would be cool.
I will.
He could do that, or he could use that money to send me into ancient catacombs with cameras.
But I'm not going to take obviously I have to invest not Drama Alert money, but Dan Keems money into Skyfire to make it a thing. But all the money, because once we launch this YouTube show, the Skyfire is eventually, for the first time ever, going to start bringing in revenue. All that money is going back into Skyfire. Every red cent of it, whether it's whether it's for
Mr. Ballin, the Mr. Ballin podcast.
Yeah, I know him.
So like what Artisan was saying about like a 30 or 45 minute UFO story could be very interesting with the Mr. Ballin format.
Oh yeah, you could do that. Yeah. But I want to send Tuba and Red to his house and sit down with him.
That's completely different. Yeah, that's a different show.
Yeah.
I want to say something real quick. We were talking about like ancient civilizations and fun stories. I'm a big esoteric guy, Manly P. Hall, Jordan Maxwell, all that. If anyone wants to read a really good book, I just want to say this because it never gets brought up. It's called Edadorpa, which is Aphrodite spelled backwards. And it's about a dude who was killed by the Freemasons. Turns out he wasn't killed. You can look all this up. It's all real. And he was taken into inner earth in a cave in Kentucky. And he manifested himself in a dude's house in the 1920s. And the dude who wrote the book has an entire museum in his name, buildings dedicated to him. And until the day he died, he said, I didn't write the book. A dude manifested in my living room and told me what to write. And it's the entire story about him going into the inner earth through a cave in Kentucky. And there are still people looking for that cave. It's called Edadorpa. And it's amazing.
Is this fiction or nonfiction?
It's nonfiction.
Is it? Okay.
It actually brings up physics that didn't even exist in science at the time are in that book.
Is it okay for people to think, okay, that's cool, it's fun, it's a cool story, but I think it's not. I think it's fiction, or is it bad? Is that am I a bad UFO?
I think you need to read it and then decide. But I think it's one of the wildest stories out there. I don't know if it's real or not. I just think it's great. When you look into it, it has a lot of real stuff going on with the Freemasonry and things like that. And I'm really good friends with a 33rd degree Freemason. He brought me to his house and showed me his mercury machine, and he blew out all the lights at the local Dollar General while I was, like a weekend before I was there. And
you're a Mason?
No, I wish. I have to wait.
Oh, I thought you said you were. Yeah.
I would join the Knights Templar, Freemasonry. I'm going all in, baby. Like, take me home.
I have a friend who keeps asking me to ask. Like, they don't invite you. You have to request
you have to be invited. I have one person who's a 33rd degree Freemason that will ask, but you have to have two. And
they don't invite you. You have to go through.
Shane, since you're into the esoteric, man, I got to do a selfless plug here, or a very shameless plug, very self-fulfilling plug. I've written 2 books. One's The Infinite Pool of Experience and Awareness, and the other is Mind, Body, Spirit. And they go step by step from modern accepted physics to understanding that 5th dimensional vortex with the center of time and how that relates to like the perception of Earth and all that kind of stuff. People have like no idea, but you seem to have an idea. So
yeah. Send me the link to them, my bomb.
Yeah, I've got them up here on my bookshelf. They're good books. I like
Oh, by the
them.
way, how much is that gravity wave machine that you were talking about? Like, how much is that?
It's probably going to end up being about 250, 300, but we
That's
still have
not
to
bad.
figure out the exact
Oh, it's
price.
just that you're talking about Jim Seagal's. That's like a sensor
Yeah,
device.
it sounds like an Egon Spangler device where you're just like holding it up, like. But I mean, I'm down for whatever. Like,
No, but
Yeah.
if you have the one that gives you live readings, you can hold it up or whatever, and then have your cell phone open, and it shows you like the current now state of the environment.
all right, yeah, I'll look into it. Send me a link for that too.
Yeah, it's not
Let's see what
out yet.
happens.
I have a link on my website to his free PowerPoint presentation, but he also has his own website. So if you were to type in probably Jim Segala MooPass device, you'd probably see his websites come up.
Yeah, man.
Yep.
Well, Keemstar, can we call you? What do we call you when we're talking to you like humans? Do we call you Dan or Keem or Keemstar?
All people call me like Keem or Keemstar. So Keem's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. What do you?
So I have a really bad joke. Like I was like, "What's a KEEMSTAR?" Because you've got like red giants, you've got like supernovas, you've got like brown dwarfs or whatever. It's like a KEEMSTAR. What's that?
Do you want to hear how I got my name?
Kind of. That's kind of what I was getting at.
So I've always had like a business mind, right? Just I get it real fast. And this is like 2000, I think 8, maybe 2007, somewhere in that time frame. One of my friends joined a pyramid scheme. Okay. And it's like one of these things where you pay $500 and then you sell the products that you would buy at Walmart to your family and friends. And then you try to get other people to pay their $500 to get a license. And the company was called QuickStar. All right. And so they're pitching me this idea. There's like my buddy and then the two people that are above him or something. And they pull me aside and they're pitching me this idea. And I'm going through it and I'm listening to every word. Right. And I'm like, guys, this is amazing. This is brilliant. This is going to be huge. And they're like, so you're in, you pay your $500 and you can say, I'm like, no. We need to create a company like this. Like, this is brilliant. Right. It was my first experience with a pyramid marketing or whatever the hell it's called. And they're like, what are we going to call it? KEEMSTAR? Because my last name is Keem and the company was called QuickStar. Later that night, this is when I was working at the attorney's office, but I was a big partier, right? I'd always spend times at the clubs and bars and all that, like me and my friend group. But that's expensive. So what I would do is I would DJ weddings like on the weekends, right? And then take all that money to go blow it on the bars and whatnot. I was in my 20s and I'm DJing this event. This girl comes up and she goes, what's your DJ name? And like, I DJ weddings, so I don't have a DJ name, right? And just earlier that day or the day prior, they said, what are you going to call it? KEEMSTAR? And I go, oh, DJ KEEMSTAR. So long story short, I'm making a gamer tag and I needed a name and I just called myself DJ KEEMSTAR because I couldn't think of a gamer tag name. We get this crazy bonus check at the office, right? Well, I did because I performed really well. It took everybody out. We had drinks. We were pretty sauced up. I get home, I get on Xbox Live, and I'm saying the most awful stuff ever, right? Gamer talk. Like I'm saying some pretty nasty stuff, right? Like I told this one kid,
Playing
I was
Call
like,
of Duty?
I was playing Halo. It was Halo
Okay.
was the big popular game at the time, Halo 3. I tell this one guy, I'm like, I'm going to bend your grandmother over my knees, shave her ass hair, roll over a blunt and make you smoke. Like I'm saying wild stuff, right? Because I'm drunk. I just came home from the bar. The next day I get an Xbox Live and all my messages on Xbox are, I seen you on YouTube. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm not on YouTube. A guy was in my game and recorded me and put it up on YouTube and it went viral. And so then he reached out and was like, you need to make more gaming trolling stuff. And so that's how I started my YouTube career. And that's how I ended up having the name KEEMSTAR.
Good story.
That's
It's
awesome.
wild how it worked out.
I had forgotten about the DJ part. Wasn't that part of your YouTube channel for a while?
Way back in the early days. Yeah. When we used to, me and my friend group, we created the whole like trolling and doing pranks in video games. Like that whole genre really we were on the first on the scene, and in 2009 we had like 50,000 subscribers, which if you translate that to today, it's like,
Oh,
what?
that's
I don't,
huge.
what is it, like 20 million subs today? Like you would look at those type of numbers. So yeah, it was wildly successful. But because we were talking trash in video games and messing with people, I had Xbox on my ass. They would ban my Xboxes every single day. So I'd have to take my 360, go back to GameStop, return it, then get a new one, come back, and they would ban it. At one point, I was like gonna sue Microsoft over this. Like it was like a whole thing. But yeah, and then I don't know where to stop this story because I'm literally just explaining my name.
Well, let me jump in real quick then. You might appreciate this. I currently own CallOfDutyTalk.com.
Oh, sweet.
Call of Duty what?
CallOfDutyTalk.com, because
Oh,
my buddies and I will play, sometimes late night, and the conversations we have are just absolutely ridiculous. Like we talk about the most random stuff ever, and we're like, man, people would probably listen to this. So I went ahead after like months and months of like saying we should buy it. I just went ahead and bought the website.
Nice.
We haven't done anything with it. We might never do anything with it, but like at least we got the website.
I think the only game I ever got caught up in was America's Army when it first came out. I don't know if you remember that game.
That's an old one.
Yeah, and we were what was the
You didn't play
clan was
Delta
called?
Force?
Usual Suspects was the clan, and they would just go in, and it got to be really kind of boring because we would learn how to made spawns and things like that. And but
I'm pretty lame. Shane, what game were you saying?
Delta Force was like one of the first first-person shooter online games before Battlefield back in the day. But if you want to play a great new game, Helldivers 2 is sick. That game is awesome.
All right, quick humble brag. They used my clip from a Fox 13 interview with, Fox 13 on Doom, like the very first 3D shooter that ever existed when the internet first came out. I'm like 12 years old, and they were over my shoulder filming me play Doom. They stole that clip and put it in Jurassic Park. It's literally a guy turning the corner and getting salsa by a rocket launcher. But nowadays, all I play is Geometry Wars, like new school asteroids, basically.
I'm too stupid to play that.
Well, guys,
Anyway.
I'm just happy. I mean, I'm delighted that you guys came on tonight. I really just really appreciate it. It's nice that you can come and spend time with smaller channels like this. You know what I mean? I think it's awesome. And
Anytime,
I just
Tony.
really appreciate it. Y'all have any closing thoughts? I do want to say I hope people can. I know we need the drama, but I kind of hope that we can all learn how to get along and allow people their own space. Pardon the pun, but I just think we need to live our lives. Let Keemstar live his life. Let Shane live his. Let Skyfire be what they want to be, like it or not. Can't we? It's funny though. As I say this, I realize that's kind of anti-drama. That's kind of antimatter to drama. So I don't know where the middle ground is. I guess.
Well, I think at the end of the day, for a drama show, having drama be based around the drama show actually just gives it more and more visibility, right? Because I'm sure you heard the line, "There is no bad publicity," right? Even bad publicity is good publicity. So even the haters are probably just helping increase the numbers of views.
Yeah, I just read a hateful post a second ago about Skyfire News. Like talking about some stuff with Cambian's murder in UFO land, and that's a story that needs to be told. That being said, my closing thought is Skyfire News is awesome, doing the best we can do, and they let me be on there, and I'm just a regular guy, and I have my faults and everything like that. But we try, at the end of the day, we're trying to figure out what's going on with the phenomenon. All of us, especially Skyfire News. That's why the actual Twitter account, the X account, is non-biased. And I was talking to James Fox the other day, and he said, I've come to the conclusion that I'm going to die without having any clue what's really going on. That's sad. That man's done a lot of great documentaries, and that's really sad that he said that, but it's also true. And we need to come together so that someone, maybe not me, maybe not you, but someone from our generation at least can see some type of real answer to this before we all die. And we need to come together to do that. And I think Skyfire News is going to be a big part of that. And thank you, Tony. Thank you, Lucius, for having me and Keem on.
Yeah, I guess in closing, I'm just trying to create a really, really good, useful product, right? If you're into the UFO topic, I'm trying to create a page here that's going to keep you up to date with what's going on that day in that moment, what is being talked about. I'm not trying to control any narrative. In fact, I want to hear so many different opinions on one subject. That is what's interesting. I hate watching a show where everybody agrees or everybody's on the same page. Like, that's boring to me. I want to hear ideas battle themselves out. And I would never just cover one aspect of this phenomenon. Not at all. And I want you guys, the audience, to decide based on all the information we can gather from every opinion that's credible or worthy.
Two great closing statements. Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate it. And I'm going to play when we go out. My son produces, he's a professional musician, and it's sort of a little sponsor for the show. They dropped a single on Spotify. So I thought I would go out with that, if you all don't mind.
I know, let's do it.
Tony, I said that I would only come on this show as long as you didn't make a single cent.
Red cent.
I don't.
And you got a brand deal? You got a brand
no.
deal?
You know what is fun? It's my son. He's not paying me anything.
Tony. He's paying you in love, and that's enough.
Okay.
That's enough.
You come back on the show in a month, and we'll look at the analytics, and we'll see how much money it makes. $2.95.
Later, guys.